Welcome to the Trader, a Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development. And of course, the Trader is usually dedicated to English-speaking versions of The Traitors. But while that show is on hiatus for the next few months, the podcast is completing a side mission as we cover the new Netflix show, very much still in the world of deception, mystery, and a big cash prize. It's $1 Million Secret. Last time we covered episodes 1 to 3, and today we're covering episodes 4 to 6. They dropped on Netflix on Wednesday, the 2nd of April. And when I say we, I mean I am being joined again by my co host, David Bloomberg.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited to talk about these episodes. How are you,
Yes,
David?
good, good. I guess I'll introduce myself for those who don't already know me. For those of you who do, well, you already know me. But for those who don't, I have been covering reality TV for over 24 years, online in newspaper columns, on my own reality TV websites, and of course, for almost 10 years on podcasts. In addition, in addition to what we do here, I post TV videos on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg TV, and pretty much talk about it wherever anyone will listen.
Yes. And well, if you want to find David talking about all of these wonderful things, we will tell you near the end of the podcast where you can find us. And before we get into episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Million Dollar Secret, we've got a couple of important things to do. First of all, we need to set up our own little game of deception and betrayal. This is the Trader Traitor. The mission for David and I from here on in is to tell a lie to one another. The lie has to be a fabrication or a made-up fact, big or small, about Million Dollar Secret or about ourselves or anything else. For example, I could lie. David is taking notes on my lies already. The game has not begun. For example, I could lie and say that all of the cast are lying about their professions because they're all in fact actors and the show is scripted. However, I couldn't lie by saying Chris is my favorite player, when in fact, Chris is not my favorite player. That would be a fake opinion. So we're looking for fake facts rather than fake thoughts and feelings. At the end of the episode, David and I will guess each other's lie, and listeners, you can join in too and see how good you are at playing detective. Now, before I officially start the game, David, I do have to bring something up. We've had a comment on YouTube correcting you. So Jace8118 says, wait a moment. And they were actually, they were writing this about an earlier episode, but I think it applies to last week's episode too. David's lie was effectively a number, and I thought the rule said that numbers had to be enlarged or reduced by at least a factor of 10. I therefore called cheat on him. And I said, oh yeah, we did have that rule in place for a while, and then I kind of let it slip. So I told Jace that I would reinstate the numbers rule and that we won't lie about small numbers anymore.
Well,
Does
that
that
was a rule that I had pushed for, and
exactly?
and I had pushed for the large number rule, but then you were like, "Yeah, whatever." so, so I figured, well, if you're going to do whatever, then I'll show him.
Well, maybe this is going to screw up the lie you had intended, which is great for me. So, I say from now we'll revert to that rule. We won't lie about very very small numbers. Uh, David, are you ready to betray me and play the Trader Traitor?
Always.
Our game begins now then, and one final thing I think before we get into episodes 4, 5, and 6. David, you have a comment, a thought from a listener.
I do. Before we get to that, it is funny that one of my guests, when you weren't on one time, used that number thing against me. I don't know if you remember. It was a previous winner of the show. I won't spoil the traders who had said, "Well, I just have one page of notes," and he actually had 10 pages of notes just to mess with me on my own thing there. Um, and also, you mentioned the lie that some people believe all these are scripted. I get so many comments, ridiculous, dumb comments about different shows with that I literally had to make it one of my keywords to automatically toss a comment into the review page on TikTok is scripted, staged, anything like that. Because people, they, anything that happens, they're like, "Oh, that was scripted." No, it wasn't. Stop it. And I got tired of arguing with them, so I just did that. But yes, I did want to bring up something a friend of mine said on Blue Sky this week. Now, she didn't actually say it in response to anything we had said. Uh, so I didn't exactly get her permission to mention it. So I hope she doesn't mind. But hey, she posted it publicly. But it's from Laura, who has been a guest here on the Tradar a couple times that I've hosted. And she was saying that finding the millionaire seems even more pointless than finding a traitor.
Mm.
Just make a majority alliance and eliminate everyone else. Eventually, one of you is guaranteed to get the money. So she wrote this after the first 3 episodes. And I do think that some of the things that we will talk about moving into these 3 episodes somewhat counters it. I mean, I think having watched only the first 3, yeah, it does seem like a very good point. Um, all of these games come down to alliances, really. The traders comes down to alliances and knowing, the trader's angel strategy and everything else. In this case, though, the problem is, well, there's a few problems. One, trusting your alliance. As we're going to talk about, there was a very clear alliance in episodes 1, 2, and 3, and even in part of 4. And then it changes. Somewhere
Yeah.
along the way, things shift. And then also knowing when to break the alliance in order to keep the majority as numbers dwindle. And then the other problem, which I still don't know, is maybe we'll talk about it at the end. I don't know how the game is going to end.
Yeah.
It seems like there's going to be a final 4 and then something.
Yeah, exactly. It's a new show. We don't know the format. We don't know how the end game works. Yeah.
So I don't know how an alliance would, or how doing this would play into it. But
Yeah.
I just think it's something to keep in mind as we go through the rest. Laura is, very smart, very good at these sorts of things. This weekend, she's at some sort of puzzle convention she posted about, I think, crossword puzzles. She's written a Survivor-themed crossword puzzle for the New York Times. I think it was the New York Times. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, yes. It's interesting to see how different people think about these things.
So, with all of that in mind, and again, we'll probably kind of retread some of it in a bit more detail. I think we are ready to get into episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Million Dollar Secret. So we begin with a little recap. It's been a week since we watched these episodes. I like the recap. The guests arrived. Lauren was the first millionaire. We saw Harry and Se Young eliminated. Lauren managed to get the money moved along, so someone else became the millionaire. It ended up with Phil. However, Lauren was still eliminated after a tiebreak vote, which was broken by Phil, the new millionaire. So we begin with the next morning, and Kyle is reminding us that they've basically figured out that the millionaire must be either Sydney, Cory, or Phil because of some information they've gathered and made sense of. Because of who voted for Lauren, they know that the millionaire
Mm-hmm.
had the tiebreak vote. They know that the millionaire was not chased by the hounds in the very first mission that was revealed in the trophy room. So that sort of sets the stage. It's one of these three under pressure. Peter meets with Phil in his room and gives him his secret agenda, which he highly advises Phil to complete. Because, of course, Phil didn't attempt his secret agenda from before. So, Peter's really urging him, we need some good TV. Come on, try
Well, I
it.
think he's also urging him because he's down to one of 3 people and this moves the money, so
Yes.
I think Peter is being honest here as well as, speaking for production, but I think he's being honest in terms of you really need to complete this mission.
Yeah, it's in Phil's interest to do that this time. Maybe the
Hmm.
reward last time didn't feel as worth it, but this is a big one.
Yeah.
What he has to do is to get two people to scream out loud before Peter calls the winners of the mission to the trophy room. And yes, if he succeeds, he'll get to move the money after the elimination if he survives it. And there won't be a penalty to this secret agenda. So again, there's an extra incentive
Hmm.
to at least attempt it. Uh, Phil says that he wants to do it. And I wondered at this point if he was going to do what Lauren did. If he manages to make it through, will he tell everybody that he had it and now he doesn't anymore? It's I've thought a lot about this actually. What do you? I mean, spoiler, it doesn't turn out that way for Phil. But um, do you think if you survive elimination, you were the millionaire and it moves along, should you tell the other players that you had it?
I think it depends. I think if you're under suspicion, you should.
Yeah, which I
Um,
think is what Lauren did. I think that's
right.
why she did it because she knew that some people were voting for
Yeah,
her.
she just did it wrong. But I think well, I mean, I think Phil should have if he had done it. I think we're going to have that question again by the end of this
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah, yeah,
a couple hours from now. But I do think that I think it depends.
yeah. Yeah, we will definitely talk about it at the end of
Yeah.
episode 6. I think episode 6. I'm
Yes.
mixing up my numbers. So Peter lets all the other players know that the secret agenda has been set. It's time for breakfast. We've got Kara in her confessional, her master interview. She's saying that she's still focused on Phil. I talked a bit about Kara in the last podcast episode. I think she seems quite observant, quite canny. So unless we're being tricked by the editing again, and maybe she's named 5 or 6 people.
I mean,
She,
I think that she does believe it's Phil.
yeah,
I also think, and I've said this before, they find, if there are 9 people there. I don't remember how many there are at this point, but if there are 9 people there, well, one's saying Phil, one's saying Sam, one's saying Sydney, one's saying Chris, one's saying Kara. They just find the one who's saying Phil and focus
sure.
on her. Doesn't mean she has any pull. It just means that she's the one that happened to say him,
Mhm.
and you're most likely to get someone saying him that you can keep putting clips in. Frankly, I think they overdo it. I
Okay.
mean, like every few paragraphs, I have a note here that says, Kara still thinks it's Phil.
Yeah.
Kara still thinks it's Phil. Like, we get it. Kara thinks it's Phil. We know.
I guess, yeah, maybe there's a bit too much hand holding for the audience through
Yeah.
some of it. The players are, they're still talking about the fact that they know the millionaire is one of 3 people. They're hoping for a good clue in the trophy room today. Phil, he's trying to plan how to carry out the secret agenda, and he, for real, breaks his tooth. It's really strange. And he,
I, yeah, I thought he was going to, this was a way to get people to scream or something. But then Lydia just gasps. And I'm like, well, I don't think that counts as a scream.
no,
But
yeah.
yeah, he really breaks his tooth. I wonder if the stag has a dentist on staff. It doesn't appear to.
Well, they've got,
Um,
they've got private chef, they've got everything else.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, I don't think I've ever broken a tooth on a piece of bread before.
yeah, that must have been
Uh,
some tough, crusty bread. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I did break one on a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the cafeteria in college one time when I bit down thinking it was grilled cheese and didn't realize it had little pieces of peanuts in it. But and who would ever make a grilled peanut butter and jelly anyway?
Yeah.
But um, not on a piece of bread. I've broken a lot of teeth, but not on a piece of bread.
Yeah. Uh, I immediately wondered, are the others gonna think this is his secret agenda? Surely not. He says this thing though that I thought was going to be a bigger deal
Uh-huh.
than it was. He sort of laughs and says, "Oh, this wasn't a part of my agenda either."
Yeah.
And there's a sort of, I think there's maybe a shot of one person giving him a questioning look. I thought they were gonna go, "Hey, did you all notice that he said my
Yeah.
agenda?"
He didn't say I don't have an agenda. He said this wasn't a part of my agenda. And it's like, uh, that sounds like an accidental slip, like when a traitor accidentally says
Yeah.
something about the three of us in the tower, or something like that. It just,
Yeah, or when the host says the word traitor and
yeah,
one of the traitors goes, "What?"
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought it would be a
That
bigger
would never
deal.
happen. I don't know what you're
No, no,
talking
no, of
about.
course not. Just imagining. It seems like this doesn't come. I mean, Phil ends up screwed anyway, but
Yeah.
so maybe this becomes minor compared to what goes on to happen after, perhaps.
Hmm.
Peter announces via the PA, "Please join me outside for a thirst quenching activity." And he mentioned this last time as well. This is all leading to my background today. I'm sure anyone watching on YouTube, you'll notice that it's not the usual backdrop. This is an homage to the mission in episode 4.
I should have
So
had a drink in homage to the.
yes, should have
If you
had some
pause, I
whiskey.
can run upstairs, and I don't have whiskey, but I have some other things. Or I'll
uh,
just stick to my cocoa like usual.
Yes, I was about to say, being in Scotland, I should have some whiskey. I don't actually live in Scotland anymore. I need to remember I live in London. Uh, but yeah, it's time for the activity then. It's funny, they don't, they're very careful not to call it a mission. They always use the word activity.
Yes.
Because, I work in TV development, so my job is to try and come up with new ideas for shows just like this. And we have to be careful about the language that we use. You don't want it, there only are so many words that you can use for this sort of thing, but you have to be careful not to borrow from other shows too heavily. So they're going with activity. I
I
guess
mean,
it
they could have. I feel like they could have used challenge because that's just so
is
generic and
so, yeah,
used by
yeah,
different shows. But I think they want to make it like you're in a hotel.
yeah, yeah,
This is one of the activities that the hotel
exactly. Yeah,
offers.
yeah,
An excursion, if you will.
yes. It's a bit of world building.
Yeah.
Uh, so the activity begins. There are a line of empty bottles. There's an empty ice bucket. There are some, well, I was going to say mobile phones. Maybe I should say cell phones
Hmm?
lined up, and they've played this funny recap of all the times that Peter has asked the
Yes.
staff for a drink and to no avail. Uh,
I am very amused that they planned this ahead so well that it's a task based on Peter never getting the drink that he's asked for.
yeah, good fun. So for the activity, they'll be split into random teams of 3. The teams are Team A, Kyle, Phil, Sydney. B, Jamie, Chris, and Sam. And Team C is Lydia, Cory, and Cara. 2 members will go to a distillery to find the correct barrel of whiskey for Peter, and 1 team member will fly to a glacier for I'm here. It's very cold. I'm pretend that's why I've got my hoodie on.
Hmm.
This is big. This is one of the missions that we saw in the trailer for the show. So it was one of the first images that made me think, "Whoa, this is big budget!" Like they're putting money into this. I don't actually know where the show is filmed.
Someone told me it was in Canada, maybe British Columbia,
Okay,
but um, don't don't quote me on that. That's what I believe someone told me. I guess I
okay.
could Google it while we're here, um, but yeah, it. I gotta tell you. So I was amused by the premise of the challenge. Like you said, the shots are like, oh my gosh, they really did this. I was so bored by this challenge. I was so bored. Solve a puzzle, find some whiskey, find ice. Parts of it sounded interesting, but they weren't. I'm sorry. They just were not interesting to watch.
I didn't mind the mission, or sorry, the activity.
Yeah.
I there is one of the activities in another episode we're going to talk about today that I found to be quite odd.
Hmm.
I still sort of don't quite understand it, but yeah, I don't know, I was fine with this. It was different. I liked people in different locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't bother me too
I
much.
mean, the one part, I don't know if you're going to go into it in too much detail here, but the one part that I did like was one of them figuring out, for the whiskey, why am I using this stupid pump mechanism? I could just use, siphon it like I would siphon gas out of a tank. And if he got a little extra in his mouth by accident, then it's
So be it.
not the end of the world. Um, so I did think that was good, but otherwise, meh.
Yeah. That was Kyle. He worked smart, not hard. You're right.
Yeah.
uses the pipette, sucks the whiskey out. Yeah, the mission involves sort of giant Sudokus, help them find the correct barrels, barrel stoppers, got the age of the ice, radio to the glacier. What I did notice here was Cory finds it very strange that Sydney fell over, like in
Yes.
a bunch of snow while she's running with her arms full. Like
Yeah. On a glacier. Like,
I don't know why he found that strange. Like, I found it strange. I mean, the thing is, he himself almost falls when he runs off too. Kara falls over. Like, I mean, I guess they're looking for anything at all, but someone slipping in snow is not that sus to me. So I
yeah.
think he's going a bit hard. By the end of the activity, Team A wins. Sydney, there's a sort of they try and inject a little bit of tension because Sydney's
Yeah.
paranoid. She got the wrong age of the ice. I think the viewer, I was watching it like, nah, I think she got it right. I don't think there's anything to worry about here. Um, if it's well, Team A wins, which is not great for most of the other players because Team A has two of the prime
Hmm.
suspects in it. Maybe they're going to end up sabotaging what happens in the trophy room. But they return to Peter. Sydney's got nothing to worry about. They pass. Hooray! Um, so, post mission, bit of discussion. Cory tells some of the others about Sydney's fall. Kyle is just sort of, he doesn't buy it. And I think he actually finds it suspicious that Cory is saying this. So
Right.
he thinks maybe Cory's up to something. Phil then very conspicuously gets Sam, Sydney, and Chris to scream.
Okay. To be
Uh,
fair, you can't inconspicuously get people to scream. I mean,
well,
by its very nature, screaming is kind of conspicuous.
it's not the scream that's conspicuous. It's just this. It's so sort of contrived. It's just if I was there, I would immediately be. It's just so weird to me. I just don't know why anyone would do this. He claims that he's worried about his tooth looking bad on camera, and they just need to scream to get out their frustration or
Yes.
something. But yeah, some of the others immediately do think it's very weird. It's funny because Kyle is recording his interview, and whenever that is filmed,
Yeah.
he can hear it through the
Yeah. He's
walls,
like,
like it's so loud. So that made me laugh. And also, actually, it was quite funny to think, oh, this they really are filming these in sort of real time.
right.
Every day they must be just taking
Yeah.
out, Kyle, it's your turn, come to, they don't film all of these after the whole show is done. So it's like funny to get a little peek behind the curtain there. I liked it. I'm going to move on to the next day unless you have any other notes here, David.
I don't, my notes are not separated by day since they clearly don't care day and night, morning or evening. Later on, they call breakfast dinner. So, yeah, I just, I don't know what what the next thing is. The next note that I have is about Sydney and Chris, talking with her telling us that she's single and not unattractive, so she would be silly not to use that. And
Yes. I
Chris is definitely feeling it. So I don't know when that happens, but
It's very soon after. Yes, I
okay.
have the exact same quote from Sydney. I'm single and not unattractive. Which reminded me in one of the first three episodes, she talked about how she looked like $1 million.
Oh, yes.
She's very humble, Sydney. Very modest. And but it's funny because yeah, the trophy room is the next day, and it made me wonder why Phil was in such a hurry yesterday. I thought the most, I mean, it's easy for me to say as a viewer, I'm very detached. I'm being an
Hmm.
armchair expert. I wondered why he didn't try and just give someone a fright and make them scream. I thought that would be like the obvious thing. Jump out at someone, play a prank, make that like, and that would make them like
I
rather
feel like
than,
that would be at least as conspicuous, if not more so.
I don't know.
Like,
Uh, the main thing was it surprised me that he still had like at least half a day to complete the mission, but
I mean, I
got them
could
all.
see that, they were kind of together. It was with people who didn't necessarily already suspect him and who he thought he might be able to emotionally,
Hmm.
get it with.
Yeah.
I mean, if this were US Big Brother, there's always one or more people. I mean, they're bored in there. They're there for the whole summer, you know.
Mm.
So they will hide in different places to scare each other and make them scream. And by the end of the season, there's always at least one episode that has a series of clips of people jumping out and scaring one another. You know, they'll hide in cabinets, they'll hide behind couches, they'll wherever they can hide,
Yeah.
because yeah, they're bored. They're bored out of their minds. I don't know if they do that in British Big Brother.
Yeah, they'll pull little pranks on each other and stuff like
Yeah.
that, sure. And I guess I'm being hard on Phil. I'm now arguing with myself that maybe the way that Phil makes them scream isn't the issue. It's the clue from the trophy room that is the issue here. Maybe Phil would have gotten away with it
If it weren't for
uh,
those kids.
if
Yeah.
it weren't for those damn meddling kids. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you do
Uh,
have Scooby Doo there. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Matthew. Uh, it was Phil. So defending himself. So yeah, trophy room is up next. It's Phil, Sydney, and Kyle. And Phil immediately suggests Kyle to be the one to receive the information, and Sydney as well realizes that maybe that's wise. Don't
Hmm.
don't don't try and put yourself forward. That looks too suspicious. Even if they know they're not the millionaire, it'll look bad to
Right.
the others. So let's
Right.
just let Kyle do it. And the information that Kyle is given is that the millionaire did complete their agenda, and it was inspired by the title of a very famous horror film. At this point, this is where I just wrote, Phil is screwed. Like, they.
Yeah, I wrote duh. Just duh.
Yeah,
I
come
mean,
on.
I can't believe it took him so long to get to scream, you know. And then Sam just immediately starts laughing.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as someone brings it up, Sam can't even keep it in. And hey, guess what? Kara still thinks it's Phil.
She's gifted. Yeah. She's consistent. Yeah. As soon as Kyle tells the others, Phil is just like, damn. He
Yeah.
knows what's coming.
I'm screwed. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have the same note, but Sam just loses it as soon as they hit on Scream.
Hmm.
It's just so obvious. And they all seem to just ditch Phil at the table and
Yeah.
off they go. It must be kind of, I think it must just be really awkward because everybody
Yes.
knows. And yeah, uh, we've got, a bit of a debrief, bit of prep time before elimination. Chris, Kyle, and Cory are together. They are celebrating. They figured it out. We know who it is. We've got it. There is a moment, I think, where they wonder, but wait a
Hmm.
minute. Right, we know it's Phil. Should we eliminate him, though? Should we? Uh, is that do we do the obvious thing and get him out?
Right.
Cory does, he just wants to go ahead, get the millionaire out.
Hmm.
And this is where I started to wonder, but why? And I guess this links back to the comment you had
Right.
from Laura way back at the beginning. Like, what? They don't know that Phil's reward is to move the money on. Well, that would happen if he gets eliminated, it would move on anyway, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I did wonder, is it the obvious? There is no, ins what's the incentive to find the millionaire, is what I'm wondering. Like,
Right.
there's no rule about who you vote for. They did it with Lauren. They knew she wasn't the millionaire. They got rid of her anyway.
I mean,
Uh,
I do think they should be considering that Lauren had it twice before she got to move it.
hmm,
This is the second time for him, so maybe it's the same time frame here.
yeah,
So that would mean it would move anyway, so you don't gain anything by keeping Phil. But do you just want to target the most dangerous player, which is what they were saying for Lauren?
yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't think Lauren was the most dangerous player, but I think it served their purposes. However, I think that the most dangerous players that they know about are all on the same alliance right now.
Hmm,
Cory, Sydney, Chris, they're all on that one alliance.
yeah.
And so I don't think at this point they realize how dangerous Sam is, how dangerous Kyle is, how dangerous
Or
Lydia
Lydia,
is.
yeah, yeah.
So does it matter if they get Phil or someone else? They're not going to turn against their alliance.
Hmm. Yeah. You also just reminded me of something I was thinking about today. I was thinking about the show and I was thinking about Lauren and the way that the players kept describing her as
Hmm.
sneaky and smart and dangerous, and we have to get rid of her. And I thought, yeah, like you said, surely she wasn't really that dangerous. I know that she was keeping a one piece of information from them. She was keeping back what the first secret agenda was. I don't know how much of a massive help that was. And also,
Um, I don't know, but she didn't tell them that was the only thing she was holding back. She said some things I need to hold back.
oh, I guess, yeah. But they were they were kind of suggesting that she was a great liar and she was incredibly sneaky. But from the beginning, she had suspicions on her. So I don't think she was that great a liar. It just makes me laugh that they picked of all the players, Lauren was the one that they felt they had to get rid of. Like I
I
don't,
mean, the other thing was, let's remember, she was targeting Sydney hard.
mm, I
Sydney
guess,
is the kind of de facto leader of that group.
yeah,
So of course Sydney is going to say we need to get Lauren, and she's going to say whatever she can to
take
suggest
out,
that. So
yeah,
it didn't necessarily all have to be true,
sure,
but it had to make enough sense to get people to vote her out.
yeah, yeah, that's right. So they're the guys are celebrating. We've got Lydia and Cara pretending with dear Phil
Yeah.
to still be figuring it out, even though they know the truth. And
Yeah.
Phil thinks
What
he
other
can.
movies could it be?
Yeah, maybe we missed something. Uh, Phil thinks that he can still come back like Robert Downey Jr. or Will Smith. I don't know how well that's going for Will Smith right now, but
Yeah.
I guess time will tell. Uh, Sam, Jamie, and Sydney are discussing the scream. I did wonder here if anyone might suspect that Kyle made up the info to frame Phil. Um, but then why would he? Because they know he's not the millionaire, so
Right.
it doesn't. I don't think it comes up,
Yeah.
but it's it's a possibility at some point in the game someone's gonna make up the
Hmm.
information, perhaps. That would be fun to see that happen. We've got Lydia suggesting to Cory that they all pretend that they vote for Phil, but actually she's still out for Sydney. She still wants to get her out. She thinks she's the most dangerous player. Um, I I'm actually not compl Why do they think that? Why does Lydia think that Sydney's the most dangerous player? Is it because she's the ringleader of that group?
I think it's because she's the ringleader, and it's clear that her opinion holds sway. I mean, she has a strong personality. I think that she is pretty schemy, pretty strategic, um, and I just, yeah, people listen to her. I
Mm,
mean, she has Chris in the palm of her hand.
yeah,
That's one automatic vote right there, which I know we'll get to in a moment. But and then I think Jamie is similar, just does pretty much whatever Sydney says. So
yeah,
when you have someone like that, yeah, if you could take them out, that would be great.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I guess I just wondered if there was something else I was missing, but yeah. She's a strong vocal
Oh, and also
character.
she's won all the challenges.
Okay, yeah, that's
They,
true. That's
they
true. Yeah,
specifically mention that she's persuasive and has won all the challenges.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Cory says he's not ready to do that at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not ready to do it. Kara is ready to do it. She's into this plan. And Lydia makes sure to tell everyone that someone else came up with it. It wasn't her idea.
Hmm.
Which, on one hand, I know how she's doing it. But if she's pressed on that, if this comes up at the elimination dinner and people turn on her, she, who's she going to blame? Like,
Yeah,
she can't just say, oh, I can't remember. There only are nine of them. So,
I feel like we've seen this before, whether on the Traders or Survivor or both, where it's just like, well, I heard that they're coming after you. Well, who
yeah,
told you that? I don't remember. I heard it.
yeah,
I heard this idea. Someone presented it to me.
yeah. So maybe she needs to be careful there. Well, she's not going to be around for all that much
Yeah.
longer. She doesn't know that yet. We've got Sam talking to Phil. He tells him, "Look, sorry, she tells him we know it's you, right?" And
Hmm.
it seems like he just doesn't deny it because there's no point. And I wrote down this funny line from Sam. She's talking about Sydney and says, "You play with pigs long enough, you get dirty." I thought that was a great line. I had to write it down.
Yeah.
Uh, this is where I made some notes to myself about the idea of metagaming. This is
Hmm.
season one of the show, and I like that it's not being. hidden from us in the edit that
Yes.
they've kind of figured out who it is, but they're not necessarily going to vote out the millionaire. Um, there's
Traders, production, take note.
Yeah, like I like that it's not being discouraged
Yeah.
or overproduced to make us not realize they're talking about that. I don't think there's any rule saying that Phil or any millionaire can't just tell people. You know, in
Hmm.
traitors, you can't tell people you're a traitor. I wonder, maybe the millionaire is allowed to tell? I don't think there's a rule against that. Um, I quite like that. I like that there's all sorts of possibilities for strategy and
There's
ways
there's
to
no
play this.
there's no millionaire's oath here that says, well, you cannot
Ex-
reveal.
Yeah, exactly. So I just at this point appreciated that. I
Yeah.
like that there's all sorts of ways that this game could go. There are various discussions about the elimination going on. Chris's team, vote for the millionaire. Phil is bigging up the idea. No, of course, we vote out stronger players. Don't go for the millionaire.
Yeah,
Um,
I do like the way he does this. And I have a clip I either just posted or I'm going to post after this. I can't remember which. But um that, he takes it to Peter. He's like, "Peter, what's the point of this game?" And Peter's like, "To win the $1 million." And Peter's like, Phil's like, "But you don't win that now. You win that at the end." And then the part that I love, and I had to take out of my clip just because it was too long, was him mocking the idea where he said, "Oh, when you guys go home and you tell people, and people say, 'Did you win?' And you'll say, 'Well, no, I didn't win, but I did get out the millionaire.'" Like, "Ooh, great for you, yay." Um, which, reminds me of the way some people play Survivor and other games. Like, "Did you win?" "No, but I played with honor and integrity." Um,
Yeah, I also thought it was smart of Phil to just,
yeah,
if he thinks he's probably going to go, it's a great
put it
play
all out
here
there.
to like try and get them to just think of the game in a different way.
Hmm.
And I wondered here, maybe he's going to pull it off. Maybe he can sway enough of them to not do it. Still don't know why Chris is so. Maybe I'll talk about it as we go on. He's so intent on getting out the millionaire. I think it's just sort of, yeah, for a bit of ego, a bit of like, I just
Well,
want to be proven right.
I think it's a couple things. One, because the other person is Sydney and he doesn't want to ever
Oh,
vote out
well,
Sydney.
sure.
Two, well, I think that's the overriding thing. I'll just say I think that's the
Okay.
overriding thing. Because yeah, otherwise it's completely hypocritical. It's like, well, I was the one who came up with this idea, but I'm not going to do it now. I just kind of want to see someone open a box with $1 million in it. Which is like someone playing the trader strategy where they know, they don't care if they get a trader out and then suddenly deciding they want to get one out. It's like, no, that's not for game purposes. That's for something else.
Hmm.
And in this case, it was to protect Sydney.
Yeah, 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 that makes sense. And at this point, we're at the dinner. It begins with Corey just laying it out. He says, I won't beat around the bush. I'll be a man about it. It's Phil. And they openly discuss the clue, the scream.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil, again, he attempts to sway. He says, it wasn't actually my idea. It was Sam's idea to do the scream. So, I didn't make it happen. And yeah, he again talks about how eliminating the millionaire actually won't help you win the whole game. And it suggests if we eliminate Sydney, that's not a bad idea. And yeah, this is where you said it a moment ago. Chris is like, I don't know, I'm kind of sick of opening empty boxes. I want to open one that's full.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sick of it. This is like what, vote 3 or vote 4 or something
yeah.
like that. It's like, oh yes, it's dragged on for so long.
And also, yeah, I just wondered, okay, you get the satisfaction of this. I guess he saves Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
What happens tomorrow? What's the plan after that? I don't know if
Then
he
he'll
has a
save
plan
Sydney
beyond that.
again.
Yeah, until she
I
wins
mean,
at the end and he has nothing.
yeah, yeah, but he'll be her knight in shining armor.
Yeah, of course. It's vote time. They fill out their cards. They gather them in. Peter pulls the key out of the bag, and the episode ends. Oh my goodness! But we can go straight to episode 5. Hooray! We don't need to wait.
Yay.
It begins immediately. The key is the deer. It was Phil.
The
Hooray.
the deer in the headlights. Yes.
Uh, and yeah, I was kind of fooled. I thought maybe if he'd pulled it off and Sydney was gonna go, but nah, they kind of do the obvious. It's Phil. He opens his box, reveals the $1 million, and he gets really upset. He says he's learned so much about himself. He's crying because he's proud. He appreciates them. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's nice. Well, we see this all the time on these shows. People get
Yeah.
very emotionally invested. People often say, I've learned. They do in Big Brother in the UK. It's this.
Yeah.
They use this line all the time. I've learned so much about myself, and sometimes they say this in their interviews after the show, and then the host will say, like, what? And they have nothing to say. They're like, oh, just that I can cope with things. Like, what? Okay, I don't know what you learned, but
When you're uttering a platitude and don't realize you're going to be questioned on it,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's like when
Um,
I was little and I would go visit my grandmother, in Florida, and these old women would come up to me and say, "Oh, do you remember me?" And eventually, I just would start saying yes. And then one questioned me on it. It was like, "Oh, who am I?" And I'm like, "Ah, hell, she just busted me." I'm like 8 years old, getting busted here for
yeah.
trying to just say the nice thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe Phil learned that he's bad at carrying out secret missions. I don't know.
Bad at chewing bread. Sorry, Phil.
Bad at chewing bread. That needs to go in my little clip for Instagram. Uh, so Lydia is pissed at the others. She says this is definitely a group of wimps. They're all crying.
Well, yeah,
Lydia,
that's why she's pissed at them because this is an amazing thing. I mean, she's pissed at them for voting him out, but then for the crying, I Lydia amuses me highly here.
yeah,
I made a whole clip of this thing, which I think you've probably seen, and apparently, I she amused me. Apparently, I amused her because the video of the scene on YouTube, she commented that she enjoyed me posting the clip. So,
excellent.
um, but yeah, she's they're they're just going on and on. And Chris, and I mention this now because I'll bring it up later. Chris is like, I haven't cried and I don't know how long, and then he's crying and then takes a pause to cry to eat some sort of weird spun sugar thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yes, you're so upset, but you can eat dessert.
And also not the last time that we see Chris crying too.
Yeah.
It's breakfast the next day. It's time for the reveal of the new millionaire in a moment. Cara talks about. I mean, this seems a bit silly to include this now. I just wondered if it was going to become important. She talks about marrying her high school sweetheart, her boyfriend, and Sam says, "Oh, I want to protect Cara. I feel like a mother to her." And
Yeah.
I wondered by the end of episode 6, I don't think it meant anything, but
No,
I
I
just
waited for it too.
wondered.
Yeah, I put it in there too just in case, but
Yeah,
it never comes up again as far as I can tell.
yeah, it makes me
Um,
wonder if in episode 7 and 8, one of them is going to betray the other, or they're going to form. It's going to be
yeah.
the last two. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting inclusion in the
Hmm.
episode. Why? Because it didn't seem important otherwise. Not that Kara's marriage isn't important.
Yeah.
Yeah, just was a
Just
strange.
not to us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know these people. So the
I wonder if she
PA
still suspects Phil.
or Lauren. Uh, so the Peter on the PA tells them to return to the rooms. And the rooms, a few of them, we get their thoughts. Sam doesn't want the
Hmm.
money yet. Sydney doesn't. Chris does want it. He thinks he's ready for it. Um, I wonder if, we're at episode 5 of 8. Is it still too early at this point? Is this a good time to get it? I mean, I don't know. I've not played the game. I
Right.
can't tell where it's going,
I
how
don't think
many
I'd
more
want it
times.
yet, but we still don't know what the final four thing is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, there are a series of dramatic reveals, and it turns out to be Sam with the million, and she's just told us she doesn't want it yet. Peter arrives in her room, asks her about being a cop, and she confirms, "Yeah, I've not told anyone." And this also made me think, "Oh, this is going
Yep.
somewhere. Why are we being shown him asking her this?"
Yeah.
And then he delivers the secret agenda. The reward is a kill shot, which means only her vote will count tonight at elimination or tomorrow night, whenever it is. And what she has to do is approach three guests and ask if they can hear a ringing sound. At least one of them must agree. And she has to do that before the elimination dinner. The penalty for not carrying it out or failing is that there will be three votes against her, which seems, eight
Harsh.
people, three votes
Yeah.
against you. Yeah, you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're really pushing for her to do this one,
yeah.
and it doesn't seem that easy. But I think also, just I think it's funny, the whole series of scenes of like her getting upset that she was given $1 million. Who would have thought we'd be watching a show where people would complain about
Yeah.
being given $1 million? I mean, yeah, there were four people on Beast Games who stupidly turned down $1 million early, and ended up going home with nothing or significantly less than
Mm.
$1 million, but they weren't complaining about it. They just turned it down. So I was thinking, if anyone wants to drop $1 million in either of our coffee accounts, we'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
be okay. We would not complain.
No, no, not at all.
Just saying.
And speaking of Beast Games, I didn't watch it, but I hear it's been renewed. There'll be a second season.
I did
Uh,
not hear that yet, which makes me wonder.
oh, I, all I can say is I read it online. Whether or not it's true, I don't know, but
Hmm.
I read a very short thing online saying it was recommissioned, and I thought, oh, maybe I should watch the first season. I haven't watched it.
It would
It's what
not
I've heard.
surprise me. I presumed it would be, if only because so much money was dumped into it. Like they made a whole city. I mean, it's
Mm,
not a big city, but they made a whole, a tower and living quarters and
mm,
hangout areas and all
yeah.
this other stuff. So you would want to, kind of, what's the word? Not prorate.
Exploit it or
Well, there's a word. I was doing my taxes yesterday. It's still up on my other screen there. There's a word that where you expand the cost up, over multiple
mm,
years.
yeah,
Um, but um, so that would make some amount of sense,
yeah.
presuming that they got the necessary viewership to support it.
Mm. So Sam has been given her agenda. It seems like a great reward, like a kill shot. But then I thought about it and I thought, depending on the circumstances, you have to be careful with that. You can't eliminate someone that no one would have been voting for, and it would have looked so odd and suspicious. Of course, I kind of forget
That all the
that
twists are explained.
yeah, that Peter then
Yeah,
just tells them. So you have to be prepared for everyone. You have to, well,
right,
this does end up happening. You have to be prepared that after elimination, everyone's then going to be really honest and admit who they voted for. So you're gonna have to be prepared to lie, uh,
right.
which is exactly what happens.
Yes. Yeah, I do think, going back to Laura's comment earlier, that this agenda reward shows why it's important to be close to the millionaire, or at least you would think it does. It doesn't so much end up that way. Um, but you can't really just solidify alliances and go to the end because of twists like this one.
Hmm.
Because let's say that it was a situation where, oh, this big alliance was going to wipe everybody out. Well, the millionaire could pick you off anyway, no matter
Yeah,
which alliance you're
yeah,
in. It reminds me of Big Brother, which, a couple of the things that they did to prevent that was in US Big Brother, unlike UK, they have a head of household. And that head of household nominates the people who are, one of whom is going to be evicted. And so even if you're in the minority alliance, if you win head of household, you can make sure someone from the majority goes.
hmm. Yeah. Although, David, you've forgotten that in the most recent series of Big Brother UK, they did introduce head of household, and I think you thought that was my lie on one of the episodes, and actually it's true. I don't know if it'll come back in the new season, but they introduced that kind of thing here, which was and I thought, hey, I heard David talking about this.
Yeah.
They do this in US Big Brother. So it's time for some, I think, lunch and some discussions. Chris is talking about it being so important to find a millionaire again. Okay, that's he's still on that. He's not changing his strategy.
Oh, sorry, before we get to this, I did think it was funny, and this seems like a little thing, but I thought it was funny that Sam had Peter sneak out the back way.
Yeah.
Because I had been thinking about this. I had been thinking about the possibility if they're all, I mean, it's a hotel or
Mm,
a lodge or whatever. Like, I had been thinking about the possibility that other players could hear him go to someone else's room. Now, I'm sure the production has plans in place to ensure this doesn't happen. But like as he was walking down the hall to get to her room, damn, his shoes were loud, and then just even without that, even if that was added, by the sound people in post,
mm.
just the opening and closing of a door in an otherwise deserted hotel
Yeah. I I
would make some noise.
sure. Unless they have members of crew visit everybody at some point, so everybody's door opens and closes, and so that you can't
I
blame
mean
that.
that could be they could do it kind of like when when the host designates the traitor at the beginning
Mm,
of one of the trader shows and they walk around multiple times, stop,
yeah,
pause, go back,
yeah,
lift their arm, put their arm down, all that.
yeah. I think so. Sam wants to. Uh, she wants to just let everybody else talk when they all sort of reconvene. I know
Then why
that.
did she sit at the head of the table? Damn. What are you doing? If you want to fade into the background, you don't immediately sit at the head of the table.
I didn't even notice, but
Yes.
yeah, maybe a bad idea. A big and Chris notices he wants to look at everybody's behavior as you would, and he immediately thinks that Sam is a bit different. She doesn't explicitly say that she didn't find the money. She's being a bit quieter than usual, and he shares this with his little group, his alliance after the meal.
Yeah, and
They
this goes back to the whole Kara situation. He's right, but we don't know what else he said about others that didn't make the cut. We don't know what other players have
mm,
said about each other that isn't important enough. Uh, yeah, we just don't know. Chris could have been the only one. Again, 8 players, however many players, one of them's going to pick out Sam.
yeah. And I think you're right. By the end of this episode, anyway, I think Chris is the only person who suspects
Mm-hmm.
Sam. She doesn't get much heat until a bit later, in episode 6. So yeah, they go off into these two sort of friendship groups, these two alliances. We've got Chris, Corey, Sydney, and Jamie on one hand, and then Kyle, Lydia, Sam, and Cara. Although, like you said earlier, that it shifts a little bit in the next episode. It doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
last. Particularly Kyle, I think, shifts his allegiance. Uh, Lydia's group, they're still targeting Sydney, and they even suggest that if they end up with her in the mission, they should deliberately fail to stop her
Yep.
getting into the trophy room. Lydia is also not a fan of Jamie either. Sam attempts the secret agenda with Lydia and seems to pull off. I think it's with Lydia. Seems to. Oh yeah, it's the ringing. Yeah, she has to
Yes.
pretend
The
that she
ring.
hears a
Yeah.
ringing.
Yeah. But Lydia
Seems.
doesn't seem suspicious, nor does she hear it. So,
Yeah.
which is not surprising. Um, yeah, I don't understand why they're talking about purposely throwing with Sydney because all you have to do is not vote Sydney to be the one who gets to hear the clue.
I
Um,
guess unless
unless
you end
Sydney's
up.
alliance happens to be the majority on
Mm,
that team.
yeah, yeah,
Which when we get to that point, they're not, but it was probably split, which could have been awkward. So, but just saying it off the top, like, oh, we just can't let her go there. Well, you don't necessarily have to worry about that.
yeah, yeah. It is time for the activity today.
I
Um,
do want to bring up also
oh,
several of them. I don't think you mentioned it. Are still mad at Sydney and Jamie for the way they treated Lauren. Did you mention
oh
that?
yeah, I didn't mention it, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it comes up once or twice. Yeah.
yeah,
And I remembered it. It was when we did the previous podcast episode. I was a
yeah.
bit
You
bothered, but
mentioned it.
I
Yeah.
thought Jamie did get a bit too personal. I thought it crossed a bit of a line. Yeah,
Well, and then later it keeps going. I think it's Lydia who will eventually hear from. Like she's a life coach and she talks like that. I have to admit that's not a real good advertisement for your business. But
no, definitely not. Uh, they are split into teams for the activity. We've got Team A: Sam, Jamie, Kyle, and Chris. They choose Chris to be the shooter, and Team B is Corey, Sydney, Cara, and Lydia, and Sydney will be the shooter. this this is the mission that is so weird to me.
Yes.
They I still don't even know if I understand it. They choose there's this wall of trophy heads, these weird animal masks. They have
Hmm.
to choose one player to put their head inside one of the masks, no, hide it from the other team. The other team have to guess which head has a person in it, and then hit it with a water balloon filled with paint. It's really bizarre. They start off with Kyle. He goes inside the snake head, and Lydia decides she is going to try and sabotage Sydney by not holding the
Hmm.
wire, the string, the elastic properly. Uh, Sydney misses the first 12 shots, manages on the
Well, first
lucky
she aims for the
13th.
pig, um, because they go for the wrong one, but then they
Yeah.
start using trash talk to hopefully get the person hiding to flinch, and indeed they see him moving.
Yeah.
Which it has to be an uncomfortable position to be standing there with your head kind of
Yeah, it's quite low down.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all very odd. I don't know. I feel about this. So yeah, eventually Sydney gets it,
Hmm.
and for Team B, Sydney goes in the tiger mask, but Chris manages to hit her in 8 shots. Sam then, well, attempts and succeeds at her secret agenda in the strangest way that, again, she gets away with it. She keeps asking if he hears that ring, meaning the ring around the mask.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Right.
Like, but they're just also carried away and celebrating that eventually Jamie goes, I hear that ring.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of things here. First of all, um, uh, I thought it was funny that Chris says he spotted her eyes in the tiger,
Mm.
which is funny because when that team came out from around the wall, Sam was dancing around like a boxer and singing a few bars from Rocky.
Yeah.
And what was the theme from Rocky 3?
I have the tiger.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
so I thought that was a pretty funny, weird, coincidental connection.
yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, afterwards, I thought this was so clever of Sam, that that she came up with this. She notices a ring around the mask and starts talking about hitting that ring, and do you hear that ring, and I mean, there is no way that production could have foreseen her completing it this way,
Yeah.
and huge props to her for doing that.
Yeah, yeah, she pulls it off. It's bizarre, but it works. So well
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, of course Chris thinks during this whole thing that Sam is now more energetic, which
Mm.
validates his belief that she's the millionaire. And so again, he's right, but his reasons have now been that she's less energetic and that she's more energetic.
Yeah,
Those are his reasons.
yeah,
It goes back to what we talk about in the traders, where someone will be like, oh, that person's too quiet. They must be a traitor. Oh, that person's too loud. They must be a traitor. Now you have the same person saying it about their same target.
yeah. Or a mix of both. Oh, you're
Right.
normally so quiet, and now suddenly you're speaking at the round
Yeah.
table. That's suspicious. Yeah. It is time for the trophy room after the activity. Chris, yeah, he still thinks this is what you've just said. He still thinks Sam's the millionaire, but so he doesn't want her to receive the information. He puts Jamie forward. The others go along with it. Again, no one wants to appear too keen because
Right.
it looks suspicious. The clue that Peter gives is this: the millionaire is lying about their profession. And now I realize, oh yes, of course, that's why they included the clip of him talking to Sam about it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw this even in the previews, that
Right.
this was going to come up at some point. We didn't know it was about Sam, but you could have guessed because we knew she was lying about being a cop. It's time for some discussions then. Dinner. Jamie arrives while they're eating, and she decides to do this sort of
Which I
quick
thought was
fire
kind of rude.
test.
They just start eating without her.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how long she was in there. Maybe they
That's true.
waited half an hour. It was getting cold. They're like, forget it.
Yeah.
Um, she's, yeah, whatever. Maybe she's not that popular. Yeah, she arrives and is like, right, I need to quickly get you to do something. Remind me, what's your job? What do you love about it? Hurry. So I think Lydia's like, what? Why are you
Yeah.
asking us this? But
Yeah.
they
Just
all
tell
do
us the
it.
clue.
Yeah. They go around the table. They they answer the question. There's nothing particularly remarkable, and
No, I mean
then
they give most of them give the most basic possible answers. Like Sydney is like, doing bottle service. I like the people. Sam does explain, we had criticized Sam before for just saying she worked in a dental office. She says she was an office
yeah,
manager. So there's that. But yeah, these are some non-answer answers.
yeah, they're super quick and vague and doesn't really show anything. Like even Kyle says, I work in construction and I like problem solving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyone could have said that. So yes, Jamie now explains the clue was that someone's lying about their profession and then says bon appetit.
Yeah.
And and off they go. Well, not literally off they go. It
Yeah.
makes them question
Right.
things. Sam is, of course, worried. She doesn't realize that Sydney is also worried because she's been lying, as is Lydia. She's not
Yeah.
told them the truth about what she does and how she makes some money.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam thinks it's the worst clue that could have been given. And I'm like, Phil would disagree with that. Um,
Yeah.
I think it was a really generic clue.
Yeah.
And so I know we're about to get into like Sydney, confessing and stuff. So I want to confess. As my shirt says, I am retired.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't always retired, but I am retired. So I don't want anyone to doubt that. But I also have another shirt, that I could have worn that says podcaster.
No,
So I want to make it clear that I am both retired and a podcaster. So I don't want anyone to get upset with me and accuse me of lying about my profession.
I find it very suspicious that you've now revealed both of these things, and I don't know why you didn't say it at the beginning of the podcast, quite frankly. I think you're the millionaire. I just can't trust you anymore. Uh, yeah, I don't get what Sydney does. She decides this is
No.
the moment. She has to tell them that she does more than bottle service. She's also a medical sales rep. First of all, I don't know why she lied about that in the first place still.
I
Now she's saying, well, I'm being open and honest, and I want it makes me if I lied about that, then well, she doesn't say lied. It makes me wonder if
Yeah.
anyone else has an extra job. And I just thought,
Yeah,
huh?
an extra job. I mean, I will say, and I don't remember if it happens here. I think it happens later. I think she did it. I think it happens right after dinner, actually. That she presumed. Well, why did she lie about it originally? I think she talks about later, which is that she wasn't sure what kind of personal information they would provide.
Hmm,
And so if she had said, I do medical sales, there could be a clue that had something about medicine.
sure.
And so she kept it to herself for that reason. But, you know, it's weird because she decided she might be under suspicion, so she confesses it. Basically, and then later she talks about it again. She's like, well, I knew that you guys wouldn't believe this is all I do. So it's kind of like patting herself on the back. Like, I knew that you guys would know that I'm way smarter than just doing bottle service, which, she is, and that's fine. But it's just the way it comes off is just like, okay. I mean, all right. But meanwhile, nobody had ever been talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone was like, oh, I bet she's really a quantum physicist.
Exactly.
You know?
Uh, yeah, I just think in a game like this, unlike the Tracers,
Mhm.
kind of any attention is bad attention.
Yes.
Anything that makes you stand out, uh, just it's just an excuse for people to vote for you.
Yeah.
Don't
And
give people ammunition.
yeah. And then again, her thing is, well, I don't just do bottle service. I do medical sales. I think someone says, medical sales rep doesn't sound like something you do on the side. It sounds like your actual job,
Yes.
like,
Yeah, weird. I thought that too. So after dinner, Sydney then says that she suspects Cara because she had
yeah.
made this comment earlier. Said, "Oh, it'd be fun to cook every day," which seems a bit at odds with the fact that she works in a burger place.
Yeah.
Um,
And even before, I mean, later, Kara will defend herself, but I'm like, yeah, it's very flipping burgers is way different from being a chef.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah, and it does come up again. I
Yeah.
think at the elimination dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Sydney also doubts Lydia is telling the truth about her profession, which she's right to doubt, I
Yeah.
guess. But maybe she
Because
just got lucky. I don't know
Lydia is
why.
retired. Um,
And even at this moment, Cory suspects Sydney now, and he's previously been on her side. He's one of her group.
yeah.
Meanwhile, that you mentioned this before, Lydia suspects Jamie can't possibly be a life coach because of how mean she was, which really made me laugh. And we've got Chris telling Lydia that he suspects Sam. Of course, Lydia then just tells Sam this. Uh, and it's yeah, I don't know why Chris did that. It's time for the
Well, it's like he feels that the alliances aren't as tight anymore, and he feels really close to her. For some, we hear them saying this, and it's like, where did that come from?
yeah, I found it strange. Yeah, because it seems like Lydia and Sam, we've seen them hanging out, just the two of them. I get the impression they get on well, so I don't know why
Yeah.
Chris did this.
I think it's funny when Lydia tells the others in her alliance what he said. Sam said Chris would never say it's Sydney, and then Kara says, "I hope Chris looks back and sees how whipped he is by her."
Yes. At the elimination dinner, then Chris, Chris has changed his tune. He says in his interview going into the dinner, he does suspect Sam, but maybe he shouldn't target her, and maybe he should just accept that Sydney is going to go tonight. Up until now, he's been like,
Hmm.
get the millionaire. Sam knows that she might just need to use her killer vote for Sydney if that's where the vote is obviously going, and she doesn't want to stand out and do something wild. But she wants to wait and see what Sydney does, or if she
Yeah.
um, does a good job of highlighting somebody else. So at the dinner, Peter asks Jamie to revisit the clue that he gave her about the millionaire lying about their
Now,
profession.
uh, now this I have to step in at the dinner. It's not dinner; it's breakfast, because we heard an announcement that said the elimination will be first thing tomorrow morning.
Yes,
He says
and
that, and then they get all dressed up, and he never calls it dinner at the meal. He
mm,
says at this meal.
oh yeah,
He
okay,
never acknowledges that it's breakfast, at least as far as I heard. I tried to see what the food was. Like, it was it bacon and eggs, some fancy omelet. I could not tell. Um, but meanwhile, they were all talking about voting out someone tonight.
yeah. There's a weird sort of
And then later on, they talk about last night.
yeah,
And so it's like, okay, one way or the other, either acknowledge that it's breakfast and, you know, or pretend it's dinner. I don't care which, but don't have both going on at the same time. There was no reason for them to show him saying on the PA, first thing tomorrow morning will be the elimination.
yeah.
You could have shown that as a dinner. We never would have known. We never would have cared.
Well, funny you say that because I didn't pick up on this at all until, and I'm jumping ahead, until Lydia she gets eliminated. When there's a shot of her leaving she leaves the meal, goes
Mm-hmm.
outside, and it's broad daylight.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I went, wait a minute, it's not nighttime. So that was the first moment it occurred to me something was off with the time of day and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Time in the stag is meaningless. It's a
Yes.
vortex where anything could happen. It's a TARDIS. uh, so yeah, we've got Jamie sort of replaying the clue. Chris pretends that he's got no idea who the millionaire is. And Lydia brings up Sydney's second job reveal. And Sydney tries to defend herself. She talks about her job and why she didn't tell anyone. Um, she, I don't know, I find it a bit strange. She says she didn't know them well enough. And she does say, I knew it might end up being part of the game. I
Right.
get that. But I think she gets a bit too defensive, and she's like, "I don't know you people. Like, I don't know you. Why would I tell you that?"
Well, and
Um,
also she's like, I don't even feel like it was lying,
yeah.
which is not a good point to bring up. I mean, it because it was. And then she's like, "Well, I used to work in an oil field, and I killed a grizzly bear,
Oh
and
my
all these
God.
other things, and nobody has gotten to know me well enough to find that out." And then she starts tearing up,
Yeah.
and I tried to get to know you because I know what it's like, and it's just like it's a very different side of her, this defensive side, than the one that we've seen when she was coming for Lauren. Like, you know, I come on, it wasn't a lie. It was a lie.
Yeah.
Stop pretending it wasn't. Just admit that it was, and move on. And then, hey, guess who defends her?
Oh yes, Chris holding her
Yeah.
hand, and
Yes.
yeah, I just rolled my eyes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just unravels, I think, and it's yeah, when she talks about she's killed a Kodiak grizzly bear. I thought, what the hell are you talking about? It's just and you've said it. She's like, no one asked me anything about my life. You don't care about me. Yeah, I think she thought she was going, and she just freaked out. She wants to win
Yeah.
really hard, and um, after she finishes having a meltdown, she comes back to Kara and the cooking and that doesn't make any sense. You flip burgers.
Yeah.
And she comes for Lydia as well. She doubts her job. She says that Lydia is stone cold. And I think it's time for the votes here. Uh, and as Peter, they do their votes, they hand them in. As Peter is about to pull the key, he reveals the secret agenda reward. So, uh, what do you think? Do you like that Peter always reveals the rewards? I don't know if I kind of wanted it to be a secret.
I kind of wanted it to be a secret too, so they would have to figure out, like, whoa, how did Lydia go when no one was talking
Yeah.
about voting for her? But I kind of like the honesty too. Like, hey, this was the reward. This is what happened. You guys need to be prepared for this.
Hmm.
Plus, it also means we don't spend a whole bunch of time with them arguing about how did, four people or five people or whoever, vote for Lydia. How did
Hmm.
that happen? And you're all lying and everything.
Yeah.
So the one thing that annoyed me was when Peter was like, and the reward is the millionaire gets a kill shot. And everyone's like, and I would have been like, what the hell's a kill shot? What are you talking about? And then he explains it afterwards. So it's quite possible that they just cut those scenes out of order, but just the way they all responded as if this was like an established game element,
Yeah.
not the kill shot, nobody has heard of it before.
If I was at that table and Sydney has just told us that she killed a grizzly bear, and
Yeah.
then Peter
Yes.
says there's a kill shot, my
Yeah.
reaction would have been, "It's Sydney, she's got a gun." Yeah, yeah, it made me laugh too. Um, but yeah, he tells them what's going on. I guess it ends up making for an exciting bit of tension in the discussion
Hmm.
afterwards because yeah, they know it gets straight to right. Who did you vote for? Let's break it down. And some people Sam is forced to lie. So I guess I like the fallout from it, and I guess it also means that the whoever the millionaire becomes, they do need to keep in mind Peter is going to tell everybody what
Right.
my reward was, so that should affect how I use it and how I play the game.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise. And anyway, Peter pulls the key. The millionaire has decided the tiger, Lydia, will go home. And I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that Sam would do this. I don't know if she knew that the reward was going to be revealed, and that it would. I kind of think she did know this was going to come out, so
Hmm.
she was trying to frame Sydney. Um, I I think it was
Yeah, the way it was
smart.
discussed, I think so.
Yeah.
It was a little hard for me to judge because I was accidentally spoiled on the episode 5 and 6
Mm,
people. But um, yeah, I do think um, she was trying specifically to frame Sydney, so she
yeah.
must have known the kill shot would be public.
Yeah. I've even though Sam ends up in a bit of trouble in the next episode, I did think it was the smart thing to do, and
Hmm.
also because she's so close to Lydia, it seems unlikely that she would vote
Yes.
for someone she's so close to. Lydia, before she leaves, goes round the players one by one to give her thoughts. This was just great reality
Yeah.
TV. Cory's a wonderful guy. Sydney, you're the most dangerous player. Chris is very strategic. She says, Cara, I hope you win. Kyle, I hope you find the love and happiness you deserve. And Jamie, I think you're shallow and pretentious. I don't believe a word you say.
Yeah.
Whoa. And Sam, she says, really enjoyed playing this game with you.
Yeah.
Hope you go to the end. And then reveals that she makes her money playing poker tournaments. uh,
And yes, and I have to go back to what I said last week about her not being on that list that I talked about, very much.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know it was my lie, but yeah, that so I don't know. Maybe she's playing underground games, or she's playing, like, if she's playing at one of those clubs I mentioned in Texas,
Yeah.
they always have ongoing daily or weekly or monthly tournaments. So I guess if she's winning those regularly enough to be an income, I mean, that takes a lot of skill, a lot
Mm.
of, to win a tournament like that regularly enough. But um, so so
I would
good
love
for
it.
her.
Yeah, I would love if she's just playing with like three of her best friends and they play for like matches. And she's like, this is how I make my income. She's playing for pennies or something.
It's like my father. Yeah, he plays at his retirement building, and they play for like nickels and
Yeah.
quarters, and he'll tell us, I won $1.25 this week, and we'll be like, don't spend it all in one place, Dad.
Yeah. Jackpot. You hit the jackpot. Uh, and this is the moment where Lydia leaves, and it was broad daylight, and I thought,
Yeah.
hey, something's not right here. And so she leaves the TARDIS, gets into the car, off she goes. The vote count is revealed, and I don't think we mentioned it, but it wasn't revealed in episode 4, is
Oh,
that
I
right?
meant to mention that. Yeah, it wasn't revealed. Well, at the beginning of episode 5. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they didn't reveal it. This was another
Yeah.
case of me messaging you like, did you see it? I I don't know why they do it sometimes and not other times.
Yeah. Um,
Like,
I don't know if they feel it's of no real consequence. Like maybe it was so unanimous for Phil, it was kind of
yeah, then
pointless
they want
showing
to they
this.
want to hide it. I don't know, but there is no vote count to reveal for this one.
Uh, oh well, yeah, you're right. It's there only was one that mattered, but we see who everybody wrote down or ticked or circled. So Sydney had the votes from Cara, Corey, Kyle, and Lydia. And Lydia was voted for by Sam, of course, and Sydney and Jamie. So obviously, Jamie and Lydia, the feeling was mutual between them. And then Sam had a vote from Chris. So he did, uh, he did vote for her after all. Um, Even though he was implying that maybe he wasn't gonna. And I thought it was interesting that no one else voted for Sam. I thought she might get one or two other votes, but it was just Chris.
So I
Um,
don't remember seeing this vote count come up. So either I wasn't paying attention because it didn't
oh,
matter, or this is your lie. One of the two.
oh no!
Uh,
I thought you just meant it. There wasn't really a vote, so there's not a vote count, but it does. It does show up on screen. Yeah.
okay.
So Chris went ahead and voted for Sam. Um,
Okay, because I thought later Chris said he admitted that he voted for Lydia.
yeah. He lies. Oh,
Okay,
he pretends that he voted for. Um, I've written it
for
down here.
Sydney.
Yes, he says that he voted for Sydney, but actually he
But
voted for Sam.
okay, I thought he voted for. Okay,
Yeah. So Lydia only had votes from Sam, Sydney, and Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of a debrief then, a really important debrief. They gather together. Kyle immediately suggests that maybe someone close to Lydia could have voted her out to throw everyone off, not
I
realizing he's kind of right.
I just like that he says there are two options. The
Yes, the
millionaire
only two.
voted someone who was on to them or a close friend to vote to throw them off. It's like, yeah, those that pretty
Yep,
much covers it. It's
yep,
they were either with the millionaire or against them. Yes, that you've got it there, Kyle.
yeah.
I mean, it's either daytime or nighttime.
Well, I guess it could be it's someone not that close to her, but they didn't suspect her. They just thought she was
Yeah,
dangerous.
but
But yes, he's covering a lot of ground there.
yeah, yeah.
Sam tries to bring it back round to the idea that no, it was the millionaire must have felt really threatened by Lydia,
Mhm.
and because obviously she wants to get suspicion away from herself. And Kyle and Corey suggest, look, why don't we all just admit who we voted for? Corey admits he voted for Sydney, which is true. Sydney says that she voted for Cara, which is a lie. She actually did vote for Lydia. And obviously doesn't want to say that
Right.
because it's going to make her look bad. Chris says that he voted for Sydney, and that is a lie. He voted for Sam. So he obviously still thinks Sam's the millionaire, and he doesn't want her to know that he
Right.
suspects her.
Right.
Sam obviously says Sydney. We know that she's obviously going to lie. Kyle says he voted for Sydney. Cara voted for Sydney. Uh, and Jamie just says, I voted for Lydia, which is true. And
Yeah.
uh, she's really pissed off about Lydia's leaving comments, of course. Sam is delighted with this because it's all eyes on Jamie now. And this is pretty much where episode 5 ends. So on to episode 6. It is, next morning we get a recap of last night's vote and how it all went down. We watch um, some, there's lots of slow-mo shots of people working out this morning. It's very strange. And Jamie knows, of course, that attention is now on her because she was the only one that admitted voting for Lydia, makes her look like she was the millionaire with the kill shot. Of course, we know that's not true. Um, I, oh, I'd like to think again, if I was there in the room and I was playing the game, I'd like to think that I wouldn't suspect Jamie. Like I surely you would know, right? People are lying. If she
Yeah.
was the millionaire, no way would she have admitted that she voted for Lydia, unless again she's doing some mad double
Yeah,
bluff.
like she's doing this, higher level thinking. Like you would never think that I'm the person if I admitted that I was the person. So therefore, I'll admit that I was the person.
Yeah. But I think it seems clear that she's telling the truth and someone else is
Yeah,
lying.
yeah,
Seems like too big of a risk to take to
yeah,
do that if she was the millionaire. Peter comes to Sam's room, gives her agenda. The reward will be one extra vote. The penalty will be a vote against her. And the agenda is to get 3 people to say Justin Timberlake before elimination. He tells her that she can't sing or say song lyrics.
yeah. It's interesting because this is quite a downgrade from last time.
Yeah,
Um, to the point that it's almost meaningless. I think this one's a skip, but as if Chris is the only one who is suspicious of her, who cares? You have nothing to worry about for one vote. Um, but
yeah.
I'm not the one playing there, so it's easy for me to say that. I do think sometimes they give them these. I think production is metagaming too, or expecting metagaming
Hmm.
by giving them like here's a really powerful one, here's a non-powerful one. Let's see if you're going to do it or not. You
Yeah,
know, um, and what we also haven't seen yet, we've either seen people succeed or not try. And in both cases, Peter has said they didn't even try or they succeeded. We have not seen anyone attempt and fail. So we don't know if Peter would say they attempted and failed
hmm.
or just say they didn't do it.
Yeah,
Considering the honesty of this game, I think he would say they attempted it and failed. Um, but we'll see. The other thing is, it seems like the rule against singing or saying lyrics is like, oh, well, that would make it too easy to get Justin Timberlake. I think it's also just because of music rights. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I presume it's the same in UK Big Brother, but in US Big Brother, if a player starts singing, they will turn off the cameras and yell at the player. If it's a copyrighted song, if it's a song they made up themselves, fine. But if it's a copyrighted song,
Yeah.
they'll yell at them.
Yeah. Happens a lot on podcasts. People saying, "Oh, don't sing. We'll have to pay for
Yeah.
that." Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
there's a whole on over on RHAP. They have usually now it used to be a weekly thing, but usually now it's once per season, once per Survivor season. They do Survivor song parodies.
mm,
So people send in their own songs. And I don't think, I think that's one of the few they don't post on YouTube because they're afraid of getting copyright nailed for having all these different songs, even though they're parodies and they technically are allowed.
yeah.
No one wants to try to fight YouTube with 18 different songs on there saying, no, no, really, it's not a violation.
Yeah, definitely. I think for this secret agenda, it's one that I would assess as the day goes on. Like if
Mm-hmm.
Sam feels she's doing well, she's not gonna get votes, yeah, maybe you skip this one. If something happens and you suddenly realize eyes are on me, I'm really worried, maybe then you feel the pressure
Yeah.
to attempt it. Uh, at breakfast, then, they discuss the Lydia vote, of course, from last night. And Jamie maintains she was simply voting for who she thought was the
But
millionaire.
from
Someone else must be
yesterday
lying.
morning,
Sorry, yesterday morning, of course. Yes, I'm time. It's
I
gone.
know.
Uh, it's timey-wimey, whatever it is that David
Yes.
Tennant says.
Yes.
uh, yeah, I thought surely the others real like would the millionaire honestly just admit I'm the only and especially because Jamie was the last person to say her vote. Would they go around
Right.
the circle? Surely, if she's the millionaire, she's not gonna be the only one that says Lydia's name.
Yeah.
Sam is, of course, yeah, glad that Jamie's freaking out under the pressure, and at this point, she doesn't want to attempt her secret agenda. I
Which, by
think
the way, nothing against Jamie. Like I said, I had one very brief interaction with her on Threads right at the beginning of the show. Do you want a life coach who's going to freak out under pressure?
Yeah, not for me. And Cory and Sydney then chat. Cory's thinking about Cory thinks that Jamie is the millionaire now. Um, and Sydney realizes, no, that doesn't make sense. Surely not. But now suspects Chris because him saying that he voted for her just felt so odd. She thought they were really close and that he you know, thought she was hot. So,
Yes.
um, Corey then immediately goes and tells Chris this. We're seeing quite a bit of this happening in these episodes. And Chris thinks that it was safer to say Sydney's name, say that he voted for Sydney rather
Hmm.
than Sam. We talked already about this. He
Right.
says, "Angry millionaire, dangerous. Angry Sydney, kind of hot." Oh, Chris, so easily
Yeah.
clicked.
Still, okay. I understand why you didn't want to admit you voted for Sam, but saying you voted for Sydney instead, not a good solution.
Yeah,
Just not.
yeah. I just pick
Um,
someone else. I don't know.
yeah.
So activity time. Teams A and B. Well, I'm calling them teams A and B. We've got Cara, Sam, Corey, and Chris versus Kyle, Sydney, and Jamie. They have to eat one of two identical desserts. One will be nice, one's horrible, and they have to fake their expression to fool the opposing team. Um, and I'm not going to go through every single thing that happens. We've got Jamie literally licking a plate. Uh, but she tricks the other team, and Corey again. Corey is like picking up on
Yeah.
everything possible. He thinks it was a slip up because it proves she's a good liar. Uh, Several of them trick the other team in this game.
I
It's not
mean,
just
yeah,
Jamie.
the whole point is the funniest thing that I thought, and I didn't actually even write this one down, was the first one with wasabi. And one of them is like, I smelled the wasabi on his breath, or something like that. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, oops. Um, uh, but um, but yeah, oh God, the blood sausage and mudfish, that does not sound good.
Yeah.
Um, And then, but the funniest thing is after the plate licking with Chris, who picks the bad one,
Oh,
shoves it
Chris.
down, licks his finger, licks the plate clean, and picks up the plate to lick it clean. Now, if you have not seen the show, you don't understand why this is important, but the yum or yuck is written on the bottom of the plate.
Yeah.
So when he picks it up, he shows them the answer.
Yes. And of course, Detective Corey
Yes.
is onto it. He thinks there's a secret agenda.
Yeah.
Jamie also thinks it's I mean, I can see this one maybe being like, did he really, did he
Right.
make that dumb mistake, really?
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe I can see you
Mm-hmm.
think it's some sort of sabotage mission. In the end, Team A wins.
Well, wait,
Hooray.
wait, wait. Are you
Oh,
skipping?
oh,
You're
sorry, I'm
skipping over your
skipping.
national dish.
Oh, there's haggis. Yes,
Yeah.
there's some haggis in there.
So
Very
I,
proud.
would you rather have a red velvet cupcake or haggis cupcake?
Oh, I I don't want that haggis.
Okay.
Sorry, Scotland, not for me. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, it tastes nice, but I don't really want it. You can get nice veggie haggis. It's very tasty.
It feels like that
Evening.
ruins the whole point of it, of veggie haggis.
Well, yes, you just don't. That means you don't have to think about all the disgusting ingredients, and it tastes
True.
good. So there are some evening discussions. I think it's evening. Again, who knows? Don't know what time of day it is. There's discussion at some point in the day. They chat about, of course, who, I've written the most obvious note to myself. They chat about who they think the millionaire is. Yes, Matthew, that's the whole show. Um,
Kara thinks it's Phil.
Cara thinks as well. Uh,
Chris
Co
thinks it's Sam.
Corey still suspects Jamie, and she loses it. She goes nuts about this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Um, yes, she's right to be annoyed. Again, it's an example of maybe drawing too much attention to yourself.
Well, and the
Um,
funny part is when she's like, "There's no logical reason to focus on me." It's like, well, okay, you're not the millionaire, but there are actually lots of logical reasons to focus on you.
yeah. Chris fake apologizes to Sydney for voting for her,
Yes.
even though he didn't actually. Um, I don't I,
Yes.
I don't know if he should maybe just tell her the truth in private, and I don't know. Maybe he doesn't
I
trust
mean,
that she's gonna.
probably should. I mean, truth does form the basis of a good relationship.
Yes, of course.
And then meanwhile, you've got Sam over telling Kara, he's so in love with her, which adds to their suspicion that he didn't actually vote for her.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
and I mean,
so,
obviously Sam knows the truth, but
right,
uses this to her advantage and says,
right.
"Yeah, I think maybe Chris actually voted for Lydia, and he's making
Yeah.
all this up." And also uses this opportunity to get Kara to say Justin Timberlake by implying that Chris has a cheating Weasley vibe, just
Like that
like
guy with that woman. I can't remember the woman's name, but it comes up again later.
yeah, Jessica Biel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did
So
Justin Timberlake cheat on Jessica Biel? Because later they talk about a book that he wrote about her. So I'm very confused about this whole situation.
uh, I'm not as far as I know, but I think he has bad street cred because of his time with Britney Spears, and
Hmm.
everyone loves Britney, and Justin was mean to her. So yes, it's sort of the in thing to hate on Justin right now. I don't care either way.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm Team Britney all the way.
clearly. Yeah, yeah, same, same. Although when I say Team Brittany, I mean Brittany from Big Brother and now the Traitors, but yeah.
So while Chris is groveling to Sydney, she recognizes that something's off and suspects maybe Chris is the millionaire.
Hmm.
Um, because I don't know if I got this wrong. I think he tries to get her to vote for Sam, and she notices that that's a bit strange. I think that's the thing that bothers her.
Yeah, he says something like, well, he tells Sydney to tell Jamie not to send heat his way, but
Mm,
towards Sam.
yeah,
Because Jamie's trying to obviously deflect from herself. And so it's like Sydney's, like, okay, why would he say that? That's very strange.
yeah.
And then meanwhile, Cory is getting more suspicious of Chris and somehow didn't notice the Chris and Sydney thing, which everybody else laughs at him for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. he's too busy paying attention to people like falling over in snow.
Yeah,
So he's not noticing interpersonal relationships.
yeah.
Next day, I think, we've got Jamie and Sam doing yoga, and Sam gets Jamie to say Justin Timberlake's name. So I think this is the point she's passed the agenda here.
No, I think
Uh,
she has one more.
oh, does she have another one to go?
I
Okay.
think so.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. She does it well. Oh, of
Yeah.
course, because I think she does a really bad job of it later.
Yes.
Yeah. Next, there's a bit of yoga here. I don't think there's anything else that exciting. Do you know what I didn't notice though? They obviously they must be allowed to. Sam says that she was listening to a podcast and that Justin Timberlake, this she's got this quote from
Right.
him. So I wondered, are they allowed to listen to podcasts in the hotel room? That's weird. Like, they must have a device that's not a phone to keep them occupied? I don't know.
I mean, it's possible, or she just meant, beforehand in when they were
Yeah.
in sequester or something.
Yeah, and I've
Um,
remember I wrote it down for some weird reason at the time. I don't
right,
know.
right. But yes, let this be a lesson to all future, players. Unless I apply and somehow magically get on the show and you're playing against me, then forget all of this. But, just listen to our podcasts about strategy and stuff before you go in, or heck, if you're in there and they allow it while you're there.
Yeah, of course. That
I
would.
mean, I have had, I have had people take podcasts I've done into Survivor, for the pregame there, where they sit around listening to it. They've snuck my, write-ups in there for many years. So, it's time to start doing it for shows like this too.
Yes, I think you're right. It's time for the trophy room and the clue recipient. Well, Chris knows again not to be too keen. He puts
Hmm.
Corey forward because he did it before, and as far as they know, he was very honest about it. So yeah, they just all go along with it. And the information that Corey gets is, well, he gets to open a box of one person from the losing team. Uh, I I like this. I prefer this to the clues that are
Yeah.
too helpful, like the Scream one.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought
It
this was
also
fun.
it all also makes me wonder. Now, obviously, production knew the Sam was on the winning team.
Yeah,
So it makes me wonder if the other team had won, would the answer have been you can open the box from one person on the winning team?
yeah,
I don't feel like they're going to have a clue that you have basically a, one of three, one of four chance that you find out who the millionaire is. 100%.
Hmm. I
I
mean,
think it,
unless they want that situation where it's like the seer and the traitor, and you end up with one person's word against
right,
another.
right.
But maybe you're right. Maybe they change it out depending on who wins.
Yeah.
Uh, so Corey chooses Jamie's box, and of course it's empty.
Hmm.
But then Peter tells Corey he has a surprise, and he gives Corey his own secret agenda. His reward, if he completes it, will be that he'll get to move the money on tomorrow, um, even if the millionaire
Right.
keeps it tonight. And the penalty will be 2 votes against him. And the agenda is that before the elimination, he has to get the other guests to say the phrases 911, handcuffs, and misdemeanor. And of course, it's also kind of a clue that points to Sam.
Yes.
So I didn't feel that was accidental.
Do they have 911 in the UK, or I feel like it's a different, is it 999 or something?
It's 999. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we all know what 911 is from
Okay.
TV and movies, and there was a British boy band in the late 90s, early noughties called 911 for no reason whatsoever. They were all English. They were called
Hmm.
911. They obviously thought it was cool. Uh, so outside, Sam attempts the secret agenda again and makes Chris say Justin Timberlake, but
Hmm.
in front of Jamie and Cara. I thought this was
Yeah.
a big mistake. Uh, I thought she did a good job with the others by doing it one on one. But yeah, I thought this was really bad. Like I don't know why. Maybe they will later. I don't know why Jamie or Cara didn't go. That's weird. You mentioned him earlier with me, and you you forgot his name, and like I just think that would have stood out as a coincidence. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, the other thing is, so that's that one secret agenda. But going back to Cory's, is there a benefit for him? Why would he want it to move? Other than the random chance that it could go to him. And maybe that's enough reason at this point that there is the chance it could go to him. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because now you're starting from scratch if you have an idea. Now, if right now he truly feels he has no idea, then it might as well move because, okay. But if he has any clue at all, right or wrong,
Mm,
then you should want it to stay with that person.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I don't want to say that production are meddling. Is this geared towards him specifically? I don't know. If he thinks I have no idea who the millionaire is, or after the elimination tonight,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If he thinks he's got no idea who it is, so whoever it is doing an amazing job, I would rather it move to someone else who's going to do a
That's
bad
true.
job with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's a
don't
good point.
know,
Yeah.
but that's a lot of steps to get
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I think the obvious is there's a chance it could come to him, and that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, yeah.
So
Now that, uh,
yeah,
go, well, I was just going to go to the same place you are. However long Cory takes there, it's the same as when Jamie was gone forever and they started dinner without her. And now they're trying to kill time till Cory gets back. And Sydney, miss, I don't want to tell too much about myself, is like, hey, let's tell fun facts. And at first, oh God, as soon as, well, first you have the Chris one
Hmm.
about being escorted somewhere for something. I didn't pay much attention to it, other than he was escorted by the cops
Yeah,
somewhere.
he said when he was at college, he was like on the newspaper, and he was
Okay,
going to
yeah,
a big game, and so because he was like a journalist, he got to go on this bus that got a police
yeah.
escort. Yeah,
But then, Sam, what the hell are you thinking?
yeah.
Seriously, what the hell are you thinking? Why would you even bring up a lie detector test?
Well,
And
I thought
then,
someone else brought it up. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, she mentions, "Oh, I know a cop who beat it," and I
yeah, I
thought,
guess this
yeah,
is after the killing time. I guess this actually happens after Cory gets back. I'm not sure.
no, it's
But
before. It's before. You're right.
okay. Um, but yeah, why would I thought she said something like, and I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I thought she said something like, this would be so much easier if we just had lie detector tests. And someone else said, well, that would kind of kill the point of it.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
when she
maybe it is right.
said,
Yeah.
and then she said, well, you can lie and beat a lie detector test. I have a friend who did that and got to be a cop. And it's just like, Sam, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why she did this. I thought it was a real misstep. Yeah, really careless.
I mean, the whole discussion is a misstep from the moment that you bring up lie detector tests, if indeed it was her, even if not, saying you can beat a lie detector test. She's right. Okay. She is absolutely right. But if you go out and you ask a random sample of 100 people, can you beat a lie detector test? 90 of them will say no. That
Mhm.
is why they feature so prominently on these shows.
Yeah.
There's a lie detector test on the oh gosh, why does this keep happening where I forget the name of the show? It's the Celebrity Relative show.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I know. With the
yeah,
Jonas Brothers, the
yes,
presenter or something. Yeah.
yeah, and there's others that have these lie detector tests, and like I keep seeing in the news, the government wants to track down its leaks, so they're going to start giving polygraphs to
Mm.
everyone, and it's like you can beat a polygraph, you
Yeah.
you can, and she's right about that. It's kind of scary that I think if I were one of her supervisors, I'd be pulling her aside and saying, exactly which friend beat the polygraph in order to become one of your fellow police officers. But why she would bring up all this that is so close to home for her when she's supposed to be a stay-at-home mom dental office manager.
Yeah. Um,
I,
yeah, I think it is just careless, tired, not thinking for a moment, bad decision. Unless, if I'm trying to think of some, unless it's a double higher thing. Like, well, if I mention that I know a cop and then it comes out later that someone's a
I
cop,
don't
I'll
think
be able
so.
to say, no
Yeah.
way would I have mentioned that if I was keeping that secret. So,
Yeah, I
not
don't
probably
think
not.
so. I think it just comes out
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah,
I feel like, and maybe this is just me kind of implanting it into her. I feel like she kind of realizes it halfway and her tone sort of changes,
maybe,
but
yeah,
maybe I'm giving her too much credit there for realizing it in the moment.
maybe. So Corey returns and tells them all about Jamie
Hmm.
not being the millionaire. Sam is pissed. That was her sort of what's the word? Her shield or
Yeah,
whatever, her
right.
human shield. And then he passes his secret agenda in the best possible way.
God, yes.
He literally just tells them the three words, knowing someone is going to repeat it out loud. It's
Yeah,
done. I mean, I have to give him credit. Yeah, excellent, easy peasy.
yeah. And again, I really don't think production expected that. I think they would have made it more difficult. I don't think they expected him to just, like they didn't say, and you can't
Yeah,
tell them what the words are, or
yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, and he just says, "Oh, it was an extra. They gave me an extra clue. Here was the
Hmm.
clue." So they disperse, and Kyle suggests, "Hey, someone might be a cop." So Sam, of course, jumps in and brings up, "Oh well, Chris mentioned the police escort thing.
Yeah,
Is it him? It's got something to do with him." Meanwhile, outside, Chris and Sydney remember Sam's story about knowing a cop, so they
yep,
lose their minds. They're like, "Oh, it's proof. It's proof." I mean, it kind of is. It isn't.
yeah,
It's not proof, but yeah, they're onto something.
right.
And Sam and Kara then join Corey and Sydney, mention their theory about Chris, and it now seems to strike a bit of a chord, and they reevaluate and think, oh, wait, unless they're pretending to reevaluate and they still
Yeah,
do
I'm not.
believe it's
I'm still
Sam.
not. At that moment, I'm still not sure whether they're pretending or not.
Yeah,
I do think it's funny. This is another part. Corey, who had been clueless about the Sydney Chris relationship until right, shortly before. Sydney starts to say to him and maybe others, "Chris told me something," and Corey says, "I love you."
yeah, that did make me laugh.
And she gets just annoyed. She's like, "I'm not here for that. I'm here for the money." Like, oh, maybe you are, but I don't know about Chris.
Yeah, yeah. My final note before elimination is we've got Chris talking to Sam alone, and he pretends that he's suspecting Corey or Kara.
Yes.
Uh, and Sam recognizes it for what it is and knows, no, no, he's coming for me tonight, and he's trying to, he's presenting with some fake theories that I
Hmm.
don't believe for a second. And it ends up becoming a problem.
Yeah.
So, elimination. Peter gathers them, whether it's dinner or lunch or breakfast, who knows, and tells them that the millionaire completed their secret agenda and tells them again what the reward is, an extra vote.
Hmm.
Sydney begins the discussion by saying Sam and Chris are the two main names going around. Chris Chris goes on the defense by saying, "I'm an entrepreneur." I'm like, I think that's the vaguest job title ever. Like, I could
Yeah.
say I'm an entrepreneur. Like, it's just so funny that he thinks that's the best defense of what his job is. I'm an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean anything. So I'm like, tell us what you literally do. Just, and he kind of does. He says, I own a beverage company. Just say that. Say it. The company's called this. We sell this. My job title is this. And he says he worked 16-hour days to start the company, and this is an ironclad defense. I thought, no, it isn't.
Yeah, I know. He keeps saying that the things I'm saying are true. They must be true because I'm saying them, but what you're saying is not verifiable. And other people are like, literally nothing you have said is verifiable.
Yeah,
And so it's funny that I feel like we've seen this before. It must have been on Traders, where people are like, it's like, I'm obviously telling the truth because I'm a truth teller,
yeah.
and there's no way I wouldn't be telling you the truth. I think it was like Danielle when she was
Mm,
saying, "Oh, I'm sick to my stomach. There's no way I could be the traitor." Da, da, da. And she was lying then. Now, Chris isn't in this point, but just he's so offended that people don't see what's obviously the truth. Well, that's because it's in your little box
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so I find that very funny, much like you did. Also, there was a situation earlier where Chris said that someone gave him a card for his like mowing, not mowing, but like his
Oh, a business card. Yeah.
a business card for his landscaping business. And it's like, well, that proves that he must have been, telling the truth. And it wasn't this episode, it was earlier. And I'm just like, yeah, they shouldn't have allowed that.
Yeah.
Don't bring in stuff like that. That this is not, like this is not a show like House of Villains where uh, someone can bring it, like Wes had brought in his own advantage that he wrote up ahead of time and started passing it off as, uh, you know, I just, obviously production didn't know that this guy would be handing out his business cards, but
Yeah.
I think for the future you got to be like, no, you can't do that, or else bring fake business cards that go along with whatever you say your business is, and I can print up a business card right now.
Yeah. That made me laugh too, that they've just have their wallets with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was strange. We've got yeah, we I've talked about Chris. Sam reiterates that she's a stay-at-home mom, and Chris makes this sort of face, and he's like, "Well, you could easily lie about that," and she is lying
Yeah.
about that, but also, yeah, like you could be lying about being an entrepreneur.
Literally anything here you could lie about.
Yeah.
I mean, Sydney's lie so far was the worst one, and she eventually fessed up to it, with the bottle service
Mm,
thing, just because she didn't have any details to back it up.
yeah.
But yeah, you could lie about any job as long as you do it well.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a guy on Survivor. He came in, he was a doctor, but then when people started questioning him, he didn't have a good answer for like
Mm,
what he was doing during his 4 years of medical school and 4 years of residency or something. He was like, "Oh, I was just doing this," and everybody was like, "Yeah, he's a doctor. He's lying." Um, so yeah, if you have a story, have backup to it. Just like I said, if Sydney was going to come in and say she did bottle service, know the name of the restaurant or bar that you work at.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I always imagine if I was gonna have to do this, I would and make up a lie about myself. I would
mm-hmm.
pick something that maybe someone in my family does, like or a job that I used to do, so that I do know it fairly well, and I think that I could answer questions if I was provoked.
Yeah,
Not just pluck a job out of there. Like I'm not going to say I'm an astronaut and I don't know anything about
yeah,
astrophysics and space travel. Yeah. Sam then does brings up this really important thing that
mm-hmm.
that Chris spoke to her earlier and brought up Kara's name, and Chris goes nuts and denies
Oh yeah,
it.
yeah.
And he,
He just goes nuts. You're right. He gets so defensive and so emotional about it that it's just he's putting the nails in his own coffin here.
yeah, which is so funny that now he is lying. He did say that. We saw him, and he's
Yeah,
like, I did not say that. I'm like, you just espoused how honest you are and that you couldn't possibly be lying, and now you're telling a complete barefaced lie. Um, and Peter asks Kara, well, this is all about you. What do you think? And she says that she would rather vote for Chris over Sam, if that's who it's coming down to. They keep coming back to Chris apparently voting for Sydney yesterday, and he
mm-hmm.
continues to lie and insists, I did vote for her. I did it out of, he says he did it out of self-preservation. I had to make sure that I survived. Cory now speaks up and basically says even he thinks Chris is the millionaire, and Chris starts crying and he's begging them all not to vote for him, and it's time for the vote.
Oh wait, you missed a very good part here,
Oh, what
where
did it?
Peter was talking to Sydney and says, "Are you and Chris still close?" And as Sydney's about to answer, Chris jumps in.
Yes.
And then everybody just kind of stares at Chris while he does that. And then Peter does the greatest thing where he then looks back to Sydney and says, how about we let her answer?
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, that did make me laugh. Yeah, and that just says a lot about Chris, I think. So they submit their votes, they are gathered. Peter pulls the key. It's the wolf, it's Chris. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we know he opens his box and it's empty. And he
And he
cries again
cries.
about being
Yes.
proud of the game he played. And he has this funny line in his confessional. He says, I was so close to winning the money I could smell it. I thought, no, you weren't.
Yeah,
Like, why were you? I thought, what are you talking about?
yeah,
I don't think you were any closer than the six other people here, other than he suspected Sam. That's kind of it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And he
so
had alienated his tightest ally, but at the same time, he says he feels like he saved the princess and then she stabbed him in the back.
yeah,
It's
oh
like, well,
man,
yeah, that's your old fault, dude.
yeah,
That's has nothing to do with her.
yeah. I don't know why he thought he was so close to the money he could smell it. I don't know.
I I don't know why he thought he was going to rescue the princess either.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Sydney needs rescuing at
No,
all.
no.
She killed a Kodiak grizzly bear. She doesn't need rescuing. Um, Peter reveals then that someone else had a second agenda and passed it, and that means the $1 million will move tonight. Well, I've written Sam pretends to be excited, but she probably is actually excited. And Kyle questions that. He's
I
like,
don't
"Hey,
know.
you."
I think she thought she could keep the money and win from here. I really do.
Maybe. I just thought maybe by the end of the dinner she
Oh,
realized
that's
there
true.
was some heat on her, so now
That's
she
true.
was thinking.
Yeah.
Um, but and Kyle questions, "Hey, you when Peter just said that, you replied with good. It's a funny
Hmm.
reaction." And she's saying, "Yeah, because it means that maybe I'll get the money now. Maybe it's going to come to me."
Yeah.
Quick thinking. Yeah, that was clever.
Yes.
Um, so there's then a vote reveal for us, and the people who voted for Chris were Sam, Cara, Corey, and Sydney. So
Princess Sydney.
actually, yeah, Princess Sydney. So actually, even without Sam's extra vote, he was
Hmm.
going anyway. And Sam had votes from Chris, Jamie, and Kyle. And that's funny because Kyle had been on Sam's sort of alliance sort of group up
Right.
until now, and he's shifted.
Well, I think at one point during not I think at one point during the episode we hear someone say the guys alliance or the guys are together or
Yeah.
something like that. So it has shifted. So Kyle has come over and joined like Chris and Corey.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, Corey has shifted away from Chris and
Yes.
voted for him,
Yeah.
which is funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just. I guess there doesn't really feel like there are any alliances at all.
Right.
Maybe I think Sam and Kara seem probably the closest pair at this point,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why we got that little clip of them way
Could be.
back in
Could
episode
be. Yeah.
4 or whatever. Oh, I'm like a mother to her. Uh, there's a bit of a sort of debrief after the elimination. Sam decides not to reveal that she had the million. And Kyle is still very suspicious of her and is vocal about it. And they have another argument about this whole cop
Yeah. Not
thing.
just vocal. He gets downright pissy.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, he brings up her mentioning a cop, and she says, well, it could have been anyone who said that, which was not a good defense on her part. The way she said it was like, well, anyone could have said that. Well, yeah, but you did say that. And a better point for her would have been to say, well, Chris also mentioned cops and we voted for him and it wasn't him. So what
yeah.
makes you think that me happening to mention a story about cops has anything to do about it?
Right.
Because the thing is, they were telling those stories while he was getting the clue.
Hmm.
So clearly they didn't base the clue on those stories.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, all she had to do was point to what just happened and say, well, obviously that had nothing to do with it. I you know, I don't think she did as great a job as she could have.
Mm.
But then, Kyle starts getting pissy, which he said, which we haven't seen. And he's like, well, I haven't seen myself this angry in a while. And it's like, maybe take it down a notch.
Yeah, exactly. And the episode effectively ends on this very
Hmm.
tense note in the hotel. There's a bit of a preview. Sorry, it's not really over. We know, there's not much incredibly
Yeah.
revealing. We know that someone new is going to get the million. The end game is approaching. There's various clips of people discussing trust clues. There's a laser mission coming up. It looks like there's some sort of underwater mission. There's lots of hugging and crying and excitement. So We've got a few things. We've got maybe our final thoughts on these episodes. We've got some listener questions and just sort of a couple of comments from listeners. Why don't I go ahead with the first
Okay.
listener question? This is like a theory of or a possible strategy to play the game. This is from Dave on Spotify. Dave says, if I was playing this game with friends and didn't have the million, I would definitely tell people I had the million as soon as it was revealed that the millionaire was passing the money to another random player, with the hope it might make me safer. Even better, I might get the million. Um, Obviously, I'd have to be ready to argue with the person who actually had it. So yeah, Dave is saying he would. I don't know. He's saying I would pretend that I have the million, and maybe like try and make an alliance with someone, especially if we know it's going to move around anyway, so there's no point in getting me out. It seems
Yeah,
like a bit of a risk.
I don't think that's a good strategy. Maybe if this show lasts long enough and it goes for like, three more seasons and it starts getting really meta that way.
Yeah,
But certainly not for the first one.
yeah,
I, and I also don't think that the person who had the million would care about that. I don't think they'd be like, no, he doesn't. I do.
yeah.
They'd be like, listen to him, vote him out. So yeah, I don't think so. I mean, yes, we saw Lauren get voted out despite them knowing she definitely didn't have it. But there were other reasons for that.
Hmm.
We saw Phil get voted out. They knew he had the million. They just wanted him gone.
Yeah,
Yes, alliances come into play a lot in this, but I think in many cases, if they are pretty darn sure you're the millionaire, then you're at high risk for getting voted out.
yeah. You would have to be playing this game with. You'd have to be pretty confident that the mood, the general consensus was, we're not actually going to target the millionaires. You'd have to be confident enough in that
Mm-hmm.
to know that it wasn't going to harm you for people to think you had it. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
will say the very first game of Mafia that I ever played was live, and there was a huge number of people. We were in someone's backyard, and and this guy starts by saying, "I'm in the Mafia," and everyone was like, "Ah ha 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 ha." He won. He was in the mafia. He started by admitting it. No one believed him. And then he just sailed to the end. It was like him against me and one other person at the end. And I'm like yelling my head off. And no one would listen to me because he said it at the beginning and everybody thought he was joking.
yeah. This is not quite the same thing, but you've
Yeah.
reminded me of another sh there's a show or there was a show called I'm not making this up. Maybe I am. Called Golden Balls. It was like a quiz show in the UK, and Golden Balls
Golden ball.
ended with the split or steal conundrum. Two
Mm-hmm.
players, you have to choose a split or steal. If you both split, you share the prize. If you both steal, no one gets anything. If one
Right.
person steals and one and so on. There's a clip on it circulates social media, it's on YouTube, where one of the contestants like metas the game and like in quotation marks breaks the game. They get like 30 they get like 60 seconds or something to discuss it
Mm-hmm.
and convince each other what they're going to do and then choose. The timer begins, and this player just says, "I'm going to steal from you. I'm going to steal." And the other guy's like, "What? You're not? What do you mean?" And he's like, "I'm going to steal." And I recommend everyone goes look it up on YouTube. It's really clever and weird how the game then plays out. So the guy's like, "I'm going to steal, so you might as well not," because it's really weird psychological play. Anyway, um, David, I don't remember. Do you have any listener questions, or will I go for it?
I no, I do not have any listener
Okay.
questions.
The next one is from Ron91409 on YouTube. Ron asks, how do you feel about some trophy room clues and agendas being too powerful? Ron says he thinks it makes the game interesting. Do we think the clues are too much sometimes, or that the rewards are skewing the game in any particular way?
I mean, I do think so. But on the other hand, with it bouncing around as much as it does it matter that much? I mean, yes, it pretty much narrowed it down specifically to Phil.
Yeah,
Um, so, but he had his opportunity to get his way out of it too. And part of that was his own fault for voting the way he did in the previous tiebreaker.
yeah,
Although I still think the Scream thing was a bit, that was a bit over the top.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. And we
so,
we talked about this on the last episode that
Yeah.
I think we one of the issues with maybe the traitors is the faithful are in the dark. How are you supposed to know? And this show is attempting to address that problem.
Right.
Well, why don't we give the other players something concrete to
Hmm.
go on? So I don't mind the clues. I do think the Scream clue was so connected to the secret agenda, it was a bit too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I have another YouTube comment from Ink Edge. Ink Edge says, actually, this is just these are questions. There's just a few comments that came in. Thoughts. It was. I do think the show has way too many hints about the secret millionaire. On the other hand, Anna Banana NYC on Instagram says, I think it might give traitors a run for their money. Very well done with the clues and the agenda. So there's this split of opinion here.
Yeah.
Jane from Traitors New Zealand, who has been on the show, sent in a message just saying, love the show. Not as much as Traitors though. And we've had a comment come in on YouTube as we are recording, David. So this is a live question. This is from Mary Callow, who's a faithful listener. Mary asks, I like this. It's about Jamie, and when Jamie was given the clue about someone lying about their profession, Mary asks, "Do you think Jamie should have kept the clue to herself and then maybe targeted different people about their profession? Then maybe she shared it or not. She could have focused on people she's suspicious of." I think asking everyone their profession and then announcing the clue at the table wasn't the best strategy. So could she have kept that to herself and quizzed people one on one to and not tell them why? Let me try and just get to know people.
I don't know. Um, I don't know. The way she did it was interesting. It's probably not the way I would have chosen to do it because it didn't really reveal anything. Um, but in a way, revealing the clue the way she did should have absolved her from being a target. Like I know that Lydia was like, "Well, there's no way she's a life coach," but she was the one who gave away the clue. So I don't think she would have said that clue if she was the one. Like
Hmm.
if Sam had somehow gotten that clue, I think Sam would have absolutely lied about what the clue was.
Yeah.
Um, it would have been something like the person who is the millionaire works in the service industry, or something like that.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, it's so hard. This being the first time and we have so little to go on. So far, everyone has been honest. I don't think she would have been able to suss it out otherwise,
Yeah.
just by herself.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like Mary's suggestion. That I mean, maybe because Jamie announced it in front of everybody. Yeah, she did the quick little tell me about your job again, really
Yeah,
quick. And anyone can say anything there. They did it like they had 3 seconds each or something.
yeah,
Then she tells them, here's the clue. Now everybody knows what the clue is, so it gives everyone extra thinking time. Whereas if she came out, made up a fake clue or something, and then, yeah, had little conversations with people, asked them about their life, who do you live with? Tell me about your family. What do you do for like maybe she might have noticed someone tripping up, not doing a very good job. So maybe telling them all, here's what the clue is, gives them too much chance to then avoid it. I don't know, but
yeah. But it also gave us Sydney screwing up by trying to reveal,
well,
so it kind of, it had that impact, even though Sydney wasn't the one who was the millionaire.
yeah, yeah. But I like your thinking, Mary, of playing with the
Hmm.
clue and trying your own thing. I have a final question, which is probably where we're naturally leading anyway. Actually, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this for a few
Okay.
moments. David, do you have any final thoughts on these 3 episodes?
Yeah, I want to start by talking about whether Sam should have revealed that she had been the millionaire, because we sort of talked about, well, we did talk about it earlier, but at that point, why not get some heat off of her? But also, she saw people take out Lauren when they knew she wasn't the millionaire anymore, and Sam was a much better liar than Lauren was. So I guess at this point, it makes sense to continue just deny, deny, deny. Like, no, it was never me. It was never me. Even though there was heat on me, it was never me. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually think she did the right thing to not tell them. Be yeah, because of how they. One of the main problems everyone had with Lauren was apparently that hey, you lied to us successfully for 2 days. That means you're a
Hmm.
good liar and you're sneaky. So I think Sam might have seen, well, they're going to do the same to me. They're going to say,
Right.
you tricked us, so we don't trust you now. And what maybe she's hoping is, I just won't say anything. Maybe the next uh trophy room reward will be a piece of information that totally counts me out, and people will just shift away from me. Um, and they'll know it can't possibly. I know they know that
They
money's
know it's
moving
shifting.
anyway, but
Yeah.
um, I kind of do think she just would have. I just think you would avoid what happened to the only other example you've
Right.
got of someone admitting they had it turned out
Yeah.
really badly for them. So I would just
Yeah.
avoid that again.
Yeah. I also wonder why everyone was so puzzled by who the other secret agenda could have been. Who could have been doing the secret agenda? It's like, okay, there was only one other person who was singled out in the whole day, and that was Cory. When he got the clue and took so long to get the clue that everyone was killing time for. It seems pretty obvious to me who the other person was. I don't know that it matters
Hmm.
or that it impacts the game, but it's like, why was everyone so puzzled by it?
Yeah, I, I do wonder if in the next episode he's going to admit it, and but maybe it will. It shouldn't really have an effect, but I wonder if like we've seen in the show, players say, "Hey, you kept that from us for 12
Yeah,
hours. That makes you sneaky and
right,
deceptive. I don't trust you. Why
right.
didn't you tell us straight something like that?" Maybe.
Yeah. And then finally, the end game. I, so there are apparently two more rounds. So there are six people now. So presumably they'll go to a final four, and then something will happen.
Yeah.
In the preview, Peter says the final game is a game of wits, intelligence, and deception, which describes the whole game anyway. So that really does not help us. So I don't know what it is. And I don't know if the other players, I mean, production has been very open with the players about things that are happening. So it's quite possible the players do know what the Final Four game is, and
Yeah.
we don't. I,
Yeah.
it's just hard to judge.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea how it's going to play out. I wonder if is it similar to the Traitors? Is it a continue to eliminate if you want? I don't know. I can't sort of foresee how that all works in
Mm-hmm.
this game. Yeah, I have no idea. No theories.
Yeah.
Not sure how it's going to work.
Yeah. So then, I had predicted Sam would win. And even though things don't seem to be going well for her now, there's just been so much of her that I think I'm going to stick with that. I think Sam is going to win.
Okay. And that's actually what the final email I had was. Alice asked, "Hi Alice. Uh, all right, now that we're down to the final contestants, who do you want to win and who do you think will win?" So you think Sam will win? Do you also want Sam to win?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I like the way she's been playing. I think she has done everything that I recommend to players. She has separated her emotions out. She has thought strategically. She has done the right thing. She had the screw up with the stupid thing about the lie detector and the cop, but nobody's perfect. So, some of the others, yeah, obviously after the way Jamie acted, I don't want her to win.
Hmm.
Um, you know, um, Kara seems very nice. From a personal standpoint, I would be happy if she won. I just don't see her doing much in the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
Um, some of the others are similar. They've done some things, but not a lot. Sydney, I think, has just been too much. Um, so I'm rooting for Sam.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I can root for people who shoot grizzly bears for fun. So,
She didn't say it was for fun. Maybe
I'm
the
sorry.
grizzly bear was attacking her. You don't know that because you never took the time to get to know her.
Yeah, sorry, Sydney. That you happened to have a gun on you while a bear came for you, or you needed it for food or something. I who do I want to win? I will be happy if either Kara or Kyle or Sam wins. It's funny, I first couple of episodes, Sam was sort of bothered me. I thought she was a bit too much, too intense, too over the top. Actually, as the episodes have gone on, I think I've got a fuller picture of her, and I have had fun watching her play the game. Who do I think will win? I think it's too obvious that Sam might win because she's had a lot of focus. I'm gonna stick with what I said before. I think Kara is going to win.
Hmm.
I think she's
Okay.
going to be the secret, this sort of dark horse. We've not seen a whole lot of her, and in these next two episodes, she's going to pull off something really deceptive, and everyone just thinks she's very lovely and sweet, and actually she's going to end up with the money and be amazing at keeping it secret. That's what I'll go for, based on not very much, but just for fun. So, listeners, remember that David and I have been trying to deceive one another throughout this podcast. But before we reveal that, we've got a few things to let you know about. As always, David, I mentioned this about 2 hours ago. Tell us, where can we find you? What shows are you covering right now? How do we keep up with you?
So I am all over social media and reality TV podcasting. I am, of course, podcasting about U.S. Survivor on the Rob Has a Podcast Network. The name of the show is Why Blank Lost. You can find it at weknowsurvivor.com, and you'll find the different podcasts in there. We just had our sixth episode of the season. I've also been posting, as I mentioned earlier, two or three or sometimes more reality TV short videos every day on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where I am at David Bloomberg TV. Right now, they're, of course, on Million Dollar Secret, U.S. Survivor, Australian Survivor, Extracted, and occasionally The Amazing Race. You can find all my accounts at linktree/David Bloomberg, or you could find me directly on Blue Sky as at David Bloomberg. And I'm always talking about reality TV, among other things. There are a few other things that happen in this country that I discuss that there as well.
Yeah, I bet. And as for the podcast, if you have been enjoying listening, please subscribe, leave a lovely review on whatever platform you're using. You can follow us on social media. The pod is on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at the Tradar Podcast. You can watch the podcast if the sounds of our voices aren't enough. And you can leave comments, your questions, your thoughts for us to discuss on all of those places. You can email me as well at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com. Or, and I think I forgot to mention this last time, maybe, you can leave a voice message where you can hear yourself on the pod by visiting memo.fm/ the Tradar Podcast. I've not been marketing that one enough. I really want to hear some voice messages. And one penultimate thing, I guess, is a couple of thank yous. So I didn't even mention the coffee.com page last time, but some very kind listeners sent in donations. So thank you to Angus and thank you to Alice. I think a different Alice from the Alice who sent in the question, actually.
Any of the $1 million ones?
Sadly not,
Okay,
but
so you're
very
not the
much.
millionaire.
I'm not the
Yes.
secret millionaire.
Okay.
Very much appreciated nonetheless. So Alice and Angus, thank you so much. And you could do the same thing if you felt that you wanted to. You could help the podcast keep going by what's the website? I can't remember. Coffee.com.
ko-fi.com.
I haven't written it down. ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. That's in the episode description, the little notes beneath the podcast episode as well. David, we've been playing the Trader Traitor. We've been trying to fool one another as always, and I hope that I fooled you today because I did tell you a lie. I'm feeling quietly confident about it.
Yeah,
Did
I think you
you
should be.
have you told me a sneaky lie at some point?
I have.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
I'm always wrong, but I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna feign confidence. Here are my guesses. Well, my possible guesses. I have written down that you broke your teeth on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and maybe that was a lie. Uh, you mentioned that previous guest co-host Laura is at a puzzle convention this weekend. Maybe that's a lie. You talked about, I think, I think grandparents living in Florida. Um, maybe that was a lie. The oh, you said that Lydia commented on one of your social media videos, and a few of the contestants have. So maybe that one just I'm just accepting that as truth now, and maybe this one was a lie. And then you said that Eye of the Tiger was the theme tune for Rocky 3. Now I know it is like the Rocky, so I don't know. I haven't seen Rocky. I have been to the steps in Philadelphia that Rocky runs up in real life. I haven't even seen the films. So maybe it wasn't Rocky 3. Maybe it was Rocky the original. But if I did know that, that would be a very risky lie that I could have caught you out on. So I am going to go for broken teeth. You didn't break your teeth on the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yes, I did.
I knew when I was
It's
saying it, I was wrong.
well, all of those, almost all of those were planted just, for you to fall for. Almost every single one of those were plants.
And fall I
Um,
did.
but yeah, no, it was they made, you know, I thought it was grilled cheese and I chomped down, not expecting to encounter any resistance. And suddenly there was a peanut and it broke a tooth.
Oh, that's a
So,
shame.
yes.
Well, I'm sorry you broke a tooth, but
Yes.
I'm not sorry it was. I wish it was fake.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, my lie was very early because I did check with Laura before saying, publicly talking about her post. And I even told her, I said, "Hey, is it okay if I use her post?" She said, "Of course." And I said, "Good. And I'm also going to use it as my lie and pretend that I didn't ask you."
I didn't even question it. So subtle. Well done.
Thank you.
You could be the secret millionaire.
I could.
You could.
Although if I were the secret millionaire by this point, I'd be the secret like $700,000 heir or something like that. Just over the past few days.
Uh, David, what do you think I have lied to you about?
I have no freaking clue. Everything that I thought, I immediately then discarded for various reasons. Like the golden ball story. I've heard that story before. I may have seen that clip before. I know that was it, unless it's not the name of the show, and that's where your lie was. Um, So I'm going to go with the name of the band 911. I'm going to say that was no, they did not call themselves 911 or they were not a British band, something like that.
Okay, I can tell you that 911 was a real boy band, a real British
Okay,
boy
yeah.
band who thought they were cool by calling themselves 911. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some story behind it, but yes, that was true. I can tell you though that Golden Balls was also true. That is the name
Okay.
of that
Woo!
show.
Okay.
And it was they had these golden spheres, and that's what they would open
Okay.
up, and it had cash
Ah,
inside, or
okay.
it had steel written inside.
Okay.
Um, my lie, I was quite risky with my lie because I lied about something in the show, and I thought if he's written the truth down, he's gonna know straight away that I've made this up. But I obviously tricked you. It was episode 5 when Peter reveals that Phil is going to be eliminated, and he pulls the key out of the bag, and I said it was the deer. And Phil was not in the deer room. He was the bear. I lied about the
Oh,
animal. Yay!
I did not remember. The only animals I remembered were like Chris being the wolf because in the beginning he kept then howling, ow,
Yeah.
ow, ow, whenever they would call it. And I think isn't Sam the mouse? Um,
I actually can't even remember.
yeah, I think she's the mouse because she even made some comments about setting little mouse traps,
Oh,
which
yes.
it seems to me is not
Yeah.
something a mouse would want to do. Um,
True.
but yeah, other than that, I don't remember who's who.
Okay.
So yeah, that was all right. That was a good one. I even commented. I said something like,
You
"Oh
made a
yeah, deer
joke.
in the headlights." Yeah,
Yes. And I just sort of laughed along, and then I
yeah,
thought, if he's making a joke, maybe he does believe it.
yeah.
Yeah. David, thank you so much for joining me. Listeners, thank you for tuning in as always. And we'll be back with the next episode on the final two episodes of Million Dollar Secret, 7 and 8. Very excited to see how this all works
And then
out.
we're hoping that we can get some interviews also.
Oh, yes, yes. May have some contestants from the show on the pod. That'll be very exciting. I've forgotten already what my made up sign off was from last time. Listeners, stay secretive.
And be a millionaire.
Bye.
Bye.